Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast, QA Live, episode 305. That rhymed. Good thing I didn't say it last week. It wouldn't have rhymed. All right, anyways, welcome. I hope everybody's having a great week. And it went by fast. I feel like it went by fast. At least it seems like it went by fast. We have a lot of questions, a lot of early risers coming. And first, what I want to do is just let everybody know something. I did a video this week. I did a couple actually, but one I did this week was on the new Fluence pickups. And we'll talk about that because there's a question. And one of the first questions that we saw come in was from Super Lead 100, who says, "Hey Phil, I love the sound of the Fishman Pups." That's the pickups, especially Scott's. He's talking about Scott LePage pickups, and he says, "Would you consider changing over Fishman's on all your own guitars now?" So I reviewed I was actually very lucky. Like I said, I'm not usually included in the or launches of guitar company or products, right? I get in there sometimes if I have a good relationship with the company, but usually I'm not one of the go-to channels for a new release, right? Mostly because it's usually a time frame thing. I take too long to make videos sometimes. That's part of it too. But so anyways, Fishman reached out and asked me if I would review some new pickups. So I reviewed the Tim Henson's and Scott LePage pickups. And what was really interesting about that video is I didn't want to say, oh yeah, I like this one better. I went through both sets of pickups. I like them both. They were very good. But Scott LePage's pickups, I guess, are based on the Fishman Classics. I had done a video that you guys requested, like, hey, tell us what you think about Fishman's. I bought a set of Fishman Moderns and compared them to a set of EMGs that I bought. And I don't remember if I disclosed this in the video, but I thought it came up once on a podcast that as much as I really liked the Fishmans, and it was really strange, the Fishman Moderns, like if I was making a whiteboard checklist of things, the Fishman Moderns won in every category. It's like they were clearer, they were crisper, they were, this, they were more that. They had everything going for them. And then if I got down to the last and goes, which set would you pick? I would pick the EMGs. And I don't know if that's just because of, years of playing guitar and playing EMGs. I like EMGs, but EMGs, the thing I like about them is, I've always said this, is they're like A1 steak sauce. Whether on steak or on cardboard, it tastes the same. And that's what I love about EMGs. It's one of those pickups you shove in a guitar and you get a tone. And that tone is, in my opinion, really cool or useful for me. And there's something I like about EMGs, especially when I want that sound, which is like a more hi-fi but clean sound, but also pushes the amp a little bit. And, just something I like, right? Sometimes more of a metal sound. And I would pick those. And a bunch of you mentioned, hey, check out the classics. And I never got around to it. And so when Fishman asked me to check out these pickups, the Scott LePage pickups are basically the classics. I interviewed Scott and Tim, and one thing I can tell you from the interview is Scott's really more of if he likes something, he likes it. He doesn't need to change it. He just wants something about it that's unique to him. In this case, it had, you can get them in white with gold slugs. And I thought that was actually cool because I thought those looked great. And actually worked for what I want because I end up liking those pickups so much, the Scott LePage, which is the Fishman Classics, so much. But I actually love the way those look. They just have a classy, cool look to them. So the question is, would I change over my guitars? Let me tell you what's weird about that experience that I couldn't convey in the video. When you're comparing two products in a video like that, you can't make the video make it an hour long. So I really, really love those Fishman Classic pickups. I love them. I've been playing them pretty much nonstop ever since. The reason is because with active pickups, I've never been I hate active pickups, I like passive pickups person. It's always been, they all suit a need. Every pickup suits a need for me. What does it do? And those pickups really do something for the PAF sound that I really like. And there's a little hi-fi fidelity thing going on there, but it's just usable in every way. So the question is, am I going to switch all my guitars to Fishman Classics? No, but I am going to tell you that I will have more than one guitar with Fishman Classics in it now. And for the record, not because they're sending me free pickups to put them in there. I have to buy these pickups. So it's not like, oh yeah, they're going to send me a bunch of pickups, I'm going to shove in my guitars. No, it's just they sent me the one set. I'm giving away the Tim Henson set So if you want, there's a link in this video. If you click it, it'll take you to a website where you enter to win. No one will contact you through YouTube. So if anyone ever contacts you through YouTube, says you won, it's fake. This will contact you directly to an email address, and I will be the one contacting you, and I will provide you with my phone number. So if you want to call me and just verify it's me, I'll say something like, something. And then you'll win. So enter to win those. They're a $300 set of pickups basically, and they sound great. And they're the actual ones from that video. I after I installed them and did everything, I put them back so that they look brand new again and put them all back in the packaging, and you'll get a certificate that says that they're the ones from the video. I do that because I just think it's cool, right? It's like a little Providence thing. It's like, here's the, you can, it'd be nice one day if you ever want to go show your friends going, oh, I got these pickups on my guitar. You're like, here's a video of them. So there you go. So check those out. Check those out if you want to win a set of pickups. They're only for the US, unfortunately. But hey. And then there was something else. Oh, so back to the classics, Fishman Classics. I just really like them. And so I'm going to put them in a couple guitars that I like. So you'll be seeing them more and more on that front. Maybe totally, I'm going to say, now that I have the one set that they sent me, I'm going to probably pick up 2 more sets. And I'd probably reach out to those guys and ask them to see if they would hook me up. But they actually, I call it the tit for tat kind of thing. They sent the pickups out. I did the video, and I asked them to help me sponsor another video I wanted to do on the acoustic side. So we're gonna have a video. It's not a Fishman video. It's just a video of some other stuff that's gonna be cool. And obviously Fishman's helping make that video. So I didn't want to kind of come back and go, oh, and also I just discovered I love your pickups, the classics. Can you send me some of those? So I didn't go that route, but I'm really super excited to. So anyways, so that's the thing. That's the thing I just wanted to update you guys on. So that's the answer to your question. I'm not going to put them on my guitars, but I am. One thing that came up in that video was somebody made a comment about how they don't last that long. The batteries don't last long. I have not had any issues with them. The batteries not lasting long. Although keep in mind, all in, I probably have 30, 40 hours, which is a lot of hours on the pickups on the battery, and no issues. And they have a 200-hour battery life. But sometimes I wonder, because keep in mind, you can either install them incorrectly and that'll kill the battery, or you have to understand that, if you're plugged into something, your battery's on. Your battery's on until you unplug. So obviously think about this. If it's got 200-hour battery life and you leave it plugged in, the guitar plug into your active pickup guitar, obviously do the math. In about less than 10 days, your batteries are dead. So there you go. That's the answer to that. Okay, so that's all my Fishman talk. So like I said, please enter that contest if you want to win the Fishman pickups. And there you go. And they'll also come with some, not that it matters to you guys, but maybe it does. They'll also come with some cool Know Your Gear picks and stickers. So stuff like that. And let's do the next question. The next question is Rad Furry 23G says, should volume loss be expected in positions 2 and 4 on an HSH setup? So in other words, he's talking about a humbucker, single humbucker guitar with a 5-way switch. Yes, you have to understand, it doesn't matter what the pickup, HSS, SSS, HSS, right? It doesn't really matter, right? HH. Anytime you're running pickups in parallel versus series, you're going to have a drop in volume. You can expect that. And especially if they're out of phase, if there's any kind of phase thing going on, that's, being set up for tone. Sometimes that has a sense of dropping in volume. So what I mean by that is there's a ton of ways to wire this. I'm just going to give you a traditional idea. I use the telly always to explain this. It just seems to always articulate well verbally without any kind of physical props. A humbucker is in series. So it's 2 single coils, one after another. Think of it like a train. Everybody's seen a train, right? You see a train and there's 2 engines pulling or pushing all the cars, right? So 2 engines are stronger than one in series. One engine pushing, another engine pushing. There you go. It's just just for mental things. That's a humbucker. That's 2 single coils in series. A Telecaster has 2 pickups, obviously, right? 2 single coils. When you go in the middle position, they're in parallel. So they're not in series. So they're not going to they're not going to be louder. They're actually, in a lot of cases, they're going to be equal or lower. And I just want to keep that because I got to keep everything general in this because I can't think of every situation. In your case, what you're hearing is probably somewhere in there, some pickups are running in parallel and you're hearing a volume drop. And that's if they're not doing any kind of weird phase stuff, which they could do. You know, there's a super switch that you can put with an HSH humbucker, single humbucker, and do some stuff. So that is to be expected. Sometimes I should just say, yeah, that's fine. Just put your mind at ease, but sometimes I want to explain it. Edward Liu says, happy Friday. Do you plan to review the new Kiesel A2 guitar or bass? So he's talking about Kiesel announced this week the new Aries 2. And ironically, I am doing a video about that. And why am I saying ironically? Well, because I have one here and I have no idea what it is other than it's the new A2. So Kiesel Guitars sent me an A2, the new one, to unbox and check out. I would love to know your guys' comments. If you would please, either live or mostly after at this place, let me know. I would like to do it tomorrow or Monday, and I could either film the unboxing and upload it onto the internet, or I can do a live unboxing. Let me know what you'd be more interested in, considering the fact that I have, like I said, I know it's an Aries A2. I know it's the new Aries. So, you know, I am not aware I get to keep this guitar. That wasn't like in the deal or promised to me. It was just like, hey, we're sending you this this guitar and we're announcing it this week. We're going to send you one right now. I'm actually having an Kiesel being built right now. So, I mean, eventually I'll have this new Kiesel that's going to be a little different than I normally do with guitars. But this is just going to be an unboxing to react to it. That's kind of idea on it. So, okay, a lot of people say live. So tomorrow, like I said, I will, just like this, I'll make an announcement. You guys will know at least hours in advance. We'll do the live thing, and I'll just unbox it live. I'll have to set up a rig so I have a, you know, desk and the whole 9 yards. You know, I don't want to be all like holding it up like this. You know, we'll have some good camera angles and stuff. And I would love to do a live unboxing, maybe like a 20-30 minute little thing, and kind of unbox it for 5-10 minutes and then take some questions, and that'd be great. So that'd be fine. I'm excited. I'm really pleasantly excited to see what it is. I've seen some of it. I saw a little bit of what the highlights are, what the changes are, but I don't know. And also, you know, like I said, I'm a little concerned, you know, I always like when I do stuff like this, because I don't want to open it and just fall in love with it and be like, oh, please don't take it back. I have to buy it now. So, so there's the answer to that. Adrian says, hey, Phil, is it absolutely necessary to solder pickup covers on? So, or can you get away with just a natural fit on the humbucker? Sure. So the question he's asking is, when you put chrome covers on, I have a video on how to install chrome covers onto humbuckers, so you can check that video out. And in there, I say exactly the answer to this question, which is you can choose to do so or not to do so. Doing so is important because just like a Telecaster has a metal cover on it and they bend in, right? And then they're grounded to the pickup's grounded. The idea behind soldering the chrome cover or nickel cover, the metal cover, onto the base plate of a pickup is to basically shield it. It's all, think of it just like shielding paint. I just think of it the same way. It's all just got a casing wrapped around all that pickup. It's supposed to reduce the amount of outside interference or noise. That's the main reason. Think about this. That's kind of why they designed it that way in the first place. Later, guitar players started pulling the covers off. Think about this. There was not, and to my knowledge, there was never a pickup, humbucker, dual coil pickup made for a guitar, you know, without a chrome cover before the fact that people just start taking the covers off. In other words, they made it with chrome covers or nickel covers, and the guitar players just started yanking them off, right? And believe it or not, they started yanking them off. The rumor has always been, and I've talked to everybody from Larry DiMarzio to, you know, you name it, Seymour, Duncan guys. Everybody's kind of got the same story, which is they started yanking chrome covers off pickups because they heard that it made the pickup sound a little more, maybe a little brighter, and also maybe push the amp. Remember, it's like, kind of understand when guys were kind of trying to get the ultimate amount of distortion out of products back in the days, you know, pre-distortion pedals, pre all that stuff. It was like everything you could do to get that amp to crank to distort. So they were doing that stuff. So that's why they started doing it. So the answer to your question is, yeah, can you put them on there? Sure. They would be no different sound wise if you go with that. Putting a chrome cover on a humbucker and not soldering it would be no different than not having a chrome cover on it. In other words, it doesn't hurt in any way. It's just not doing anything different. It just aesthetically looks different. You can absolutely do that. Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. So there you go. Fun fact for you. Here's a fun fact for you. If you look at the Badlands guitar behind me, which looks like it has EMG pickups because it has plastic covers. Obviously, they're plastics. They're not soldered to anything. They're aesthetic only covers. That's why I said in the video you can take them off. Why is that important? A lot of you have seen a lot of pickups that look like EMGs from companies like Jackson back in the day and other companies. And those plastic covers can be yanked off. EMG covers, which look plastic, are actually not just plastic. There is metal in those covers. It's like impregnated in the plastic. So there is actually like filament, like metal in it. I don't know why I'm saying filament, but there's metal in it. So something interesting to know, just so you know about an EMG. There's metal in the top of it. And I think it's just on the top. I don't know if it's on the sides or not. Could be. I don't know. So I delaminated an EMG pickup many years ago. You think you'd have to watch the video. I have a video where I delaminated one. It was really weird taking it apart. We took it apart. Believe it or not, EMG gave me one where you can see inside of it a while ago or see some of the stuff in it. And then anyways, we got one we could delaminate. So we delaminated it all apart, which was a real pain in the ass because there's a lot of epoxy in there. Let's see. William wants to know, how long have I had a Majesty? I've had a Majesty for, I'm going to say a month. Feels like February. I'm going to say February. So February, since February. Let's see, what else? Ben says, can you do a video comparing the Accord versus SE pickups? Yeah, we can do that. The question is, here's the real question. The real question is, how do I do it? In other words, like, how do I get the time to do it? I'm just always behind. I'm 2 weeks behind. In fact, I'm going to use the analogy I used today. I'm always 2 weeks behind. I've been trying to catch up for a long time. It's a lot. Some of that stuff is personal. Things happen, with the family and stuff, the whole family. Things happen. And then, you miss a couple days and then you're just playing catch up. And then something else happens. I had a day where, I spent an entire day filming something and it didn't go right. So that, you lose a whole day. So I'm always like running 2 weeks behind. So the joke I make is like when you show up to a restaurant and everyone around you and you go to put in your order and everybody's been sitting there at their tables for 40 minutes and none of them have food. You're not getting your food now. You're getting your food at least 40 minutes from now, right? Does that make sense? So that's how it is with me. Sometimes when I'm like, you have great suggestions for videos and it's not that I can't do them. It's just, it's going to be a while before I get there. I am trying to plow through a ton of pickup videos is what I'm trying to do. So you know, I'm trying to take the days where I don't have certain rigs set up that I can just go and knock out some videos. Why? You got 2 pickup videos in 1 week. It was just easy. You have 2 more videos that are coming on pickups. I would love to do as many pickup videos as possible. The deeper I can make that catalog, the better it is for me, for views wise, but better it is for you guys for resources. So, okay. Okay. All right, let me go to the next. What are the next early question we got was, John Plunkett wants to know, why won't Guitar Center give any trade value for a case? He's talking about a guitar case. Wouldn't they want them so they could ship the guitars more safely? I traded in a Charvel and they didn't want the molded case. This is very common with Guitar Center. It's been a very common thing for a long time. I feel like I'm going to sneeze, so I hopefully won't. I might. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay. So anyways, in Arizona right now, everything is blooming. And so it's just definitely, I can feel it kind of coming on. So I wanted you to miss that. All right. So back to cases and Guitar Center. Okay, so Guitar Center's been doing that for a long time. So, they are notorious for not taking cases to guitars. The reason is because it takes up too much room in the back of the store because they have so many guitars and they have cases. They constantly lose the cases, misplace the cases, don't give you the case when you buy a guitar. They are notorious for all of those things all the time. In fact, No, I don't know anymore. I don't know now, but back in the day, you could just, it was all the time. So, you could just, if you bought a Guitar Center, you'd be like, hey, can you throw in a case? And they would just go in the back and come out with a case all the time. In fact, you'd almost feel stupid if you didn't do it because you're like, you'd leave and go, I should have told him I needed a case because they just give cases away, right? Sometimes you get the guy who'd be like, yeah, we could sell you a Roadrunner case and a warranty for that. But then you'd be like, yeah, but you got one you just throw in, and they would go in the back. And sometimes they'd pull out like, a nice SKB case and just give it to you because they just had tons of cases that they were just trying to get rid of. So to answer John's question, of course, you'd want the cases for shipping and stuff. You can understand that that's not the big part of their business. Remember, they're still a door business. They're still selling everything through the front door of those stores. Those stores have a crap ton of overhead. They sit in a situation much like a lot of big retailers where, the internet is huge and it's growing, but your infrastructure is really expensive that you paid for and you need it to kind of pay a dividend. It's almost like your brain says, why don't they just do more online like Sweetwater and all those guys? And then you think about it from their perspective, it's like, well, how do we justify these enormous rents that we pay on these stores, the build outs in these stores, the employees, all of this expense? And you know what I mean? So, how we got to make that work too. So anyways, the answer to John's question is, they don't want the cases because, like I said, they're going to lose them. They don't care. They don't care if you get your, right? They don't care. It's a bean counter thing. It's one of the things that makes Guitar Center uniquely different than most mom and pop style stores, right? Even larger ones. When I say mom and pop, I don't mean just like the small store, in your corner and stuff in your town. I'm talking about like even, the bigger slash stores like Chicago Music Exchange, or technically even maybe, Sam Ash, right? Sam and Ash, again, what I mean by that is guitar player owned businesses, right? These are musicians, guitar players who run and operate these businesses still. So there's this kind of like, of course you'd want the case if you bought the guitar and the person who traded in or sold it to them had the case. You'd want the case, right? That's something that just feels like that's a no-brainer. But as a business saying, what's the value? I don't get, they're not going to give you any more value for a case, so screw them, right? That's kind of like the thing. So that's what that's why they don't want your case. So that's what. So now you know. So you can try it. Please feel free to still continue to try it. I haven't done it in so many years, but I would imagine next time if you're a Guitar Center and you're buying a guitar, especially a used one, ask if they have a case for this. At least, not only like I said, can you throw in a free case? Try that. Even if it's a new guitar, might as well see if they have any used cases they can get rid of. Sometimes you get the right sales guy. He's like, he's tripping over them in the back, right? He'll just come grab you one. But what's nice is if you're buying a used guitar, I'm going to tell you right now, if you buy a used guitar from Guitar Center, please ask for them to, hey, does this have a case? Can you go check? Because sometimes, they, like I said, they sell guitars all the time and forget to give you the cases. The only thing that sucks, I'm just going to warn you, just because in case some of you guys have short tempers or problems, and some people get agitated very easily, it's not going to be fast. Like, don't go, hey, does this have a case? They're going to leave. They're going to break up with their girlfriend or boyfriend on the phone for like 20 minutes. They're going to smoke a cigarette or a vape or just eat some gummy bears. And then they're going to come back and tell you it's not there. So I'm just telling you, they take, just be prepared that this isn't going to be like they have it in their inventory system. They're like, oh yeah, this one definitely comes to the case. Number 7, aisle 3, I'll go grab it. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be like, that it's going to be like, they're going to go like Indiana Jones and search for your case. So there you go. All right. I really hope in the deep part of this that a lot of the information I just gave right now is outdated and they've improved since, but I don't have a feeling. I don't feel like that's happened anytime soon. All right. What else? I think that's it. That's the early riser questions I grabbed. So we have some other questions. Let me see what's on the, let me see what you guys are talking about. Okay. Okay. I have no idea. All right. I might have to. Okay, I'm going to try this one. Joe says, hey, Phil, a few weeks ago you talked about your Marshalls, Friedmans, Suhr, and Amplified Nation. Thoughts on the Suhr Badger versus Studio Classic versus Friedman as a cranked mini plexi? Look, I like the Suhr Badger a lot. I do. I like that amp. And I like the Marshall. I liked it a lot, but I like the Friedman better. That doesn't mean it's better. I just liked it better. I preferred it. I kept it. Why? Because I thought it sounded better. When I say better, it's not like you understand what I'm saying? It's for me better, even with guitars, a lot of times when I use the word better, it has more use for me. That's really what it comes down to. I can get more out of it. I can get it to do different things. So the Marshalls were cool, but the one thing about the Friedman is, look, and I mean, so I know I have the small box and the twin sister, but keep in mind, I have these only for the reason I have both those amps are for one reason only. They both have two separate channels, which just is a convenience, right? It's like literally to me, that's all I bought. It was convenience. If you are looking at the Runt or the Pink Taco 20 or the little sister, to me, although I've A-B'd all these amps, the Friedmans, the ones I have that are double the price of those, by the way, I've eBayed them. I've A-B'd them to death with tons of friends, just kind of getting different perceptions. Because remember, some of my friends don't like the same music I do and stuff. And yeah, we all agreed these two sound a little fuller sounding. Notice I didn't say better that time, just fuller. They have a little bit more, I'm going to say, oomph to the speaker, even at lower volumes, because obviously it's more powerful, bigger tubes, more powerful amplifier sections. That being said, okay, and of course when you crank them up, they're gonna roar a lot louder. I mean, they're a much bigger lion, so to speak, when it comes to roar. Those two things, a little bit more heft in the sound and a louder amp, those two things aside, which is to me was not anything that I had any value in. I don't crank these amps up, so I didn't value it that way. And yeah, it's nice to have a little fuller sound on it, but like I said, the other three smaller Friedman sounded so good it didn't matter. Oh, and I also mean the Jerry Cantrell, because I've had them all. I've had them all, and you've seen them on the channel. And at one time, I had them all in this room, that's right. And so here's what I came away with. I really like having two channels. I like having a clean channel or a channel I can dirty up and then a higher gain channel. And both these amps give me those features. So if that's not something you absolutely have to have, I like the small Friedman amps just as well. In fact, there's a lot of reasons I like them even more than these. Like I said, if he made a small 2-channel amp, I would go for it. I was pretty much like the Runt 50. I almost thought about just going that route. But like I said, I do have a hookup. The guys at Friedman hooked me up and sold me a small box at a deal. And then the twin sister I bought from a dealer for a little bit of a discount. So it was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to justify that. But to your initial question, that's kind of the appeal for me too. I have to tell you, with those other the Marshall and the Suhr and stuff, it's the same thing. I like the sound of these a little better, but more importantly, I like the feature sets on them a little better. I just like them. So, but it's not those suck and these are great. It was those are great and these are 1% better. And I always tell you guys this, just my, why I feel. If I'm in a store and I'm trying two products and one's 1% better and it costs more, I usually never pick it. Never. Almost 90% of the time, 9 out of 10 times, if you show me a product, I don't care if it's a guitar, a pedal, or an amp, and it doesn't even matter what the price is, right? Let's say it's, like I said, 10% more, 50% more, 20% more, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it's more. If it's barely better, like I just go, yeah, it's a little better. I don't go, oh yeah, I got to have that. But if I already own them, I'll go, yeah, I mean, this one's a little better, so I might as well get rid of the other one. Like I said, that happens to me a lot. That's why I caution you, because it's not that I would have purchased it over another product, but if you have both, then I get rid of the one that I just like 1% less, and that's enough. And that's what's great. It's great times, man. Amps are just fantastic at all price points. I'm about to review a new amp, new version of an amp, and it's not cheap. It's not, but it's not these. It's not like these $3,000 beasts behind me. It's in the $1,000 range, and it's really impressive for what it is. So, I mean, again, not cheap, but it's still not crazy priced. Crazy. Being $1,000 is within the Fender pricing. To me, if you're within Fender's pricing, That's high, but that's not crazy, right? Like crazy is, and I mean crazy meaning out of the market. We know, and again, this is important I talk because sometimes people react to stuff too quickly. When I speak about stuff, I always talk about it in the market because I happen to be very ingrained in the market, in the guitar market. So I know what the market buys. So when you look at the pyramid of purchases, I know like, okay, at the tip, this is like the $5,000 guitars, right? And then after 5,000, that it's so tiny, it's not even the tip of the pyramid. It's right, it's like a lightning rod sticking out of the tip. And then of course, as you go to $3,000 guitars, and then 2,000 and 1,000, you get to like a much bigger thing. And of course, when you get down to $100 guitars, you're out, this far. So that's what I mean by that. It's just so. Okay. Hold on, I'm just reading. Oh man, that was a good question. You took it back. I'm going to answer it anyways. You took it away. Somebody asked the question, have I tried the EVH American Wolfgangs? And I have many of them and absolutely thought they were great. At the time, I don't think I could appreciate them for some reason. So when they came out, because they came out first. So I was a dealer for EVH. I was one of the first dealers for the brand EVH. I mean, literally the first, like, within, signing the the dotted line to be a dealer. I was so early to be an EVH dealer when they came out that there wasn't even products. It was just your rep saying, okay, we're starting a brand with Eddie Van Halen. In fact, I wasn't even clear that it was a brand, Eddie Van Halen's brand. I thought it was going to be Fender products with kind of like when they made the Eric Clapton badged amplifiers for Fender and stuff. I thought it was going to be an EVH Eddie Van Halen badged Fender product. And I was like, this is amazing. Let's do this. And then then it figured out oh, this is EVH. Because remember, I was a Charvel dealer. So we had already just sold right before the EVH deal got launched. We had just sold as dealers. We just sold the Charvel EVH guitars. Remember, they came in sets of 3. It was really horrible because you would have to get them as a dealer. You had to buy all 3. So you bought the red one, the white one, and the black one. It was funny. You were always selling the red one first. It was always it would suck. You wanted more, but you really wish you could just load it up with, one color more than the others. Although each one is iconic to somebody. It's weird how, to me, I figured out this thing doing that as at that point in my life, I wasn't a huge Eddie Van Halen fan. I obviously was a fan. I knew him, as a guitar player. I've owned his albums, but I didn't really understand his fan base like I probably understand now, selling them many guitars and amps and learning about Eddie Van Halen from them, the fans. And what I learned is, man, 4 years of age makes a huge difference. Huge in Eddie Van Halen. And Eddie Van Halen is one of the few guitar players in the world. See, I always talk about how great he is. He should be on Mount Rushmore. All those things are accurate, by the way, in my opinion. But the one thing that people forget is he's different to different age brackets. It's weird. It's weird. It's almost like, I don't even want to give it an analogy. So this is telling what it's like. It's like, if you tell me you love the white and black Eddie Van Halen guitar and that's the best one, I can guess your age. And if you say you like the yellow and black one, I could guess your age. And if you say you like the red, white, and black stripe one, I'll guess your age. And if you say you like the Wolfgang, Music Man Wolfgang, or not Music Man Wolfgang, the Music Man Eddie Van Halen model, the Axis, there it is. I'm like, yep. It's like, because I'll get your age because it's like where you found Eddie Van Halen in your high school years really tells you what he is, because he changed, he morphed. So that's what we learned selling all the different striped guitars. Sure, a lot of the big fans buy all of them, sure. But to some, it was like, I never really liked the yellow and black one. I'm all about the red one. And someone was like, none of them are cool except for the white one. And you're like, isn't it funny? Isn't it funny? So to answer your question about the EVH American Wolfgangs, I have played them. They are phenomenal. They are phenomenal. Are they 1,000 times better? Because you didn't ask that, but I'm going to ask or answer it. Are 1,000 times better than the Mexico ones, the made in Mexico ones? I'm not talking about the made in Japan ones because those to me were different. They were made different. They feel different. They are very good, but different. Playing the made in Mexico ones, I don't know why it is the way it is with EVH. As much as I like the made in Mexico ones, they are not in the same league, in my opinion, as the USA ones. Could that be fixed with some more hands-on time with the made in Mexico ones? Sure. And I don't think the made in Mexico ones are bad. I've owned a bunch of those and I love them. But there's just a couple things about the USA ones that are just primo out the door. They were just flawless and great. So that's my opinion on that. Great. If you want one, you will not regret it if you get one. So, there you go. It's a great guitar. It's one of those things. And if you don't, and it's one of those guitars that will always go up. And again, we're not talking about investment, but I'm just saying if you want, you got to try one. So you have to buy it to try it kind of now. You buy it, whatever you paid for it, just wait. And like I said, it'll eventually be worth what you paid for it or more. And then if you don't like it, you can offset it. That's kind of the thing I always kind of remind you guys about is that's one luxury we get. If you have some patience, you really you don't lose a whole lot of money in the guitar realm of guitars, right? But somebody's like, yeah, Signature was awesome. They are awesome. So, okay. Kevin says he started. Oh, I'm going to upset Kevin. We'll be friends, right, Kevin? Kevin says, I started my Van Halen journey from the first album. That's amazing, Kevin. I started my Van Halen journey from Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. That was my first Van Halen album. That was my first time really hearing Van Halen. So, I heard Jump and Hot for Teacher. I heard it on MTV, right? Like your older sibling would be watching MTV and you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's music on MTV. But I interpreted it the same way I interpreted Boy George and Michael Jackson and Madonna. All that stuff that was coming on MTV was just music. And I liked it, right? I mean, I had a sense of it. I liked it. Obviously, I listened to it. But I didn't go like, whoa, like everybody reacts to Van Halen. Like, changed my life. I literally, I didn't have that experience. I missed it. I was just too late. Like I said, I started guitar in 1989. So it was right then. So to me, it was like, and I think they had a gap, right? In that OU 812, isn't there like a gap between OU 812 and For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge? I think I actually started guitar in that gap. I think that's the problem. So when I heard Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, my first thought, oh man, this is where it gets scary because I don't want to like alienate myself from all Van Halen fans. I'm a Van Halen fan, okay? I got to meet him once, right? It's one of my most iconic. In my front room is a picture of Eddie Van Halen, okay? It's in my front room of my house. So I gotta say that, but I gotta say this thing it's gonna suck. My first experience as a guitar player, like where I knew guitar now, like I'm like, oh, guitar, not like when you heard music before and it was music. Now I hear music and I'm like, that's a guitar player. Whoa, that's hard to play, right? My first experience Van Halen as a guitar player was Pound Cake. And the first thought that came in my mind was, wow, that's really not as cool as Paul Gilbert using a drill. And I was like, why is he doing that? And I was actually, and this is what I learned. I was a life lesson there, by the way. This isn't a attack on Van Halen, Eddie. It's actually a praise. To me, I was like, what? Because I had already seen Mr. Big. All right, I already seen Paul Gilbert use a drill. Maybe it wasn't Mr. Big first, but either way, I saw Paul Gilbert use a pick on a drill and play it with a drill. So when I saw Eddie Van Halen just using the sound of the drill over the pickup, I was like, all right, right? It's like, okay, I'm like, that's not as cool. But here's the important part of the story. Van Halen won me over with his songwriting. That's what pulled me in. I learned Eddie Van Halen. I appreciated Eddie Van Halen as a songwriter because by the time I heard Eddie Van Halen, I already heard Steve Vai, I already heard Paul Gilbert, I heard Yngwie, I heard everybody who's already learned from him and just played him faster, right? So to me, at that time in my life, it was like, oh, this is the guy. I knew, I'm not stupid. I was like, I knew this is the guy they all came from, but it was kind of like, and again, now I can officially piss off two groups of people. It was kind of like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. It's like I saw Michael Jordan and then you see Magic Johnson. You're like, well, but Michael Jordan jumps like 10 feet off the floor, right? That's a cool thing. So it was kind of like that. I saw Eddie as not the new crazy guitar player. I saw him as like this, kind of originator of it. But I literally I just fell in love with his songs. And then that's what I started learning real fast. That was actually where I am today, which is I stopped immediately because I didn't even know why I cared about solos so much. At the beginning it was like, oh, you gotta just shred. And I was like, that's cool. But when I started hearing Eddie, that's when I started noticing like, wait a minute, he's writing a song. This song is great. Like if he didn't have a solo in it, this song would be great. And so it kind of led me down that road of okay, so you can be a great guitar player and write catchy songs. I like that idea. That seems more logical to me than just showing off like an acrobat. Right. And by the way, that's not digging on the acrobat style guitar players, but that's kind of how I look at it. I look at a lot of the guitar players as like, yeah, they're just showing you what you could do if you have an unlimited amount of practice and a desire. And then sometime, and not to take away from the talent, they have talent too, but you get the idea. Like I said, if I'm tab-toeing because, man, you can really piss off a fan fast, and I don't really want to do that because I love those guys. So I don't want. It's the worst thing is that when you have to fight somebody who's like, I know you don't like them. I'm like, oh, I love them. What are you talking about? Yeah, Craig says Phil's taking his life into his own hands. Yeah, there's an intensity. I learned. Oh, man, I feel like this is preachy, so I'll stop right now. Done. But I should just say what I learned. Here's what I learned about guitar players in a music store environment. People always bring up, Stairway to Heaven, things you can't say in a guitar store. Let me tell you what things you can't say in a guitar store. There are certain guitar players that have more than just a fan base. They have a religion. I mean, they're the guitar players who love them unconditionally. And you could say everyone's like that. Everybody's got super fans. Sure, everybody's got a super fan. But to me, the list of guitar players that have that is very short. First of all, Eddie Van Halen is one. Eddie Van Halen fans, there are guitar fans who love Eddie Van Halen, and then there are Eddie Van Halen fans that love guitar. That is the order in which it comes, right? It is Eddie first, then guitar. That is, and it never changes. The other ones, believe it or not, Brian Setzer. I know it sounds crazy. Some of you guys are crazy. Rockabilly guys are the same thing. It's rockabilly first and then guitar. Like you do not come to the church of rockabilly and talk smack. You don't come to the church of Van Halen and talk smack. That's why I'm being cautious, because I've been in those situations. As obviously I owned a store for over a decade. You come in and they are like Randy. Yes. Oh, of course. Randy Rhoads, another one. You do not. And like I said, notice how I'm saying it. The way I'm saying it is the way you should understand this. You do not talk smack in the church of Randy Rhoads. You don't talk smack, right? These guys are more than just guitar players. They're institutions. So, and there are a lot of great guitar players, and everyone thinks their guitar player they love is an institution. They're not. They're just amazing guitar players and maybe guitar heroes or guitar gods or whatever you want to call them. But the institutions are few and far between, but they are. You do not mess with them. So that's why I'm cautious on certain guitar players. I do not want to offend anyone in that. Dimebag's another one for sure, obviously. And of course, his passing made that even more so extreme. That's more so. But like I said, we could go all day, guitar players, but I'm just giving you the reference. So be aware when you don't don't talk smack in the church of Van Halen. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, we got to get to another subject. This is going to go on too long. And then I'll be guitar canceled. Is that a thing? Can you get guitar canceled? I probably get guitar canceled. It's got to happen. I got 700 hours of me talking. There's somewhere I'm getting a guitar canceled. Caliph Caster says, hey, modern DAWs support IRs, digital effects, algorithms, and all the stuff. Being a studio-only performer, do I ever need effects or amps? No, of course not. Of course not. No, if you're a studio performer, first of all, you don't need anything that you don't need. So it's, again, gear is for the artist, not the audience. Okay. I love this attitude. I love this analogy. It's always worked for me, which is the audience isn't there to figure out, oh, did he use a real tube amp or digital? That's not what they're saying. People like to dumb that argument down to the audience can't tell. Oh, the audience can tell, by the way. The audience can tell quality. They can tell quality from crap. And especially if they're musicians too, right? They'll know, like, wow, what the hell is he using? This sounds horrible. In fact, you can use pro level gear and sound like ass. So you notice that I'm not talking about the gear is the qualifier. The architect of the sound, you're creating the sound. Your audience will decide if it's quality, right? If they like it. That's what they decide. It's your job. But here's where gear is why it's important. Because you still have to be inspired to create that sound. You have, and those inspirations aren't easy. Everybody's so nonchalant, especially the internet. Everybody loves a 1 second little clip of words, right? You don't need this. That's overrated. The truth is, inspiration is hard. Very few of us ever get it, if we even get it. Most people flounder and die in their sadness of trying. Doesn't that sound depressing? It is depressing. The reality is this: figuring out how to play guitar is not easy. So you got to do that. Then figuring out how to get some kind of style in your playing is not easy. And heaven forbid you get a style that you hate. I mean, that's happened to a lot of us, of course, right? You literally play something and you're like, man, I just don't like the way I do it, which is just a horrible thing, right, to come across. And so, like I said, so gear is really about you. It's your personal interaction, how you create. And if owning a $5,000 pedal makes you somehow think you sound great, well then fine. If that's what it works, it works. I'm not here to make fun of you for that. I get that's you. That's not what gets it for me. That's fine. And the same thing, if you can create, like if somebody says to me, hey Phil, I can take a $200 Squier, plug it into Amplitude 5 and create an entire album. And so all this crap behind you is stupid. And I would say, good for you. I'm so happy for you. I wish I was you, because I would take all the money I saved and use it for something else, right? But that's not what does it for me. Now, keep in mind, here's what's funny. I am a hybrid. That's why I have this opinion, by the way. When I say I'm a hybrid, is this. And when I record, I will do it digitally. I told you guys, I use a Kemper. Before the Kemper, I used the HX Stomp because of features. I like the HX Stomp. The Kemper to me is like you plug it in and I get sounds like you're talking about. And I have Amplitude and I also have the other one. Because I have Amplitude on this computer and I forgot what I have on the other computer, but it's the other amp software. And so anyways, I use digital to make music. Pete Thorne is a good example of that. If you really pay attention to Pete Thorne, he has a real tube amp. He has real sounds. He gets inspired. He plays live with them, but then he's recording mostly with digital stuff, right? I think that's a perfect world for me. To me, it's like if the inspiration comes because I plugged into a Dr. Z or a Bad Cat and I get the sound going, and then once I get the sound in my head, because once I get a sound from an amp, it's not so much that's the only way I can get the sound. You can get the sound from tons of other things. You just got to figure it out. It's like once you figure out what you want to hear, then you just find ways to hear that over and over again in different gear. So that's, oh yeah, guitar rig. Thank you, High Desert. That's what I have, guitar rig. So I think I have guitar rig 6. I'm probably wrong. It's the newest one. So anyways, the point is exactly that. You can use whatever it is, whatever inspires you to make music. That is the goal. Now, sometimes we're collecting crap too, right? I mean, like I said, that is a thing. And it's not exclusive. I don't really subscribe to the argument of there's collectors out there buying up all the crap. That's somewhat true. It's somewhat true. And then there's real musicians. I'm like, look, real musicians are collectors and collectors can be real musicians. There's a crossover to that. Sure. And collecting is a thing. It's not because in collecting in my world, in my mind, it's not a financial decision. It's a compulsive decision. I can't stop thinking about music and gear. Like I told you guys, I've said this before. I buy a lot of guitars, but I buy a lot of music too. I can't help it. Just every time I hear a new song or new album, I'm still to this day, still like in a person who, if I hear a new song from a band, I'm like, I got to get the whole album. I gotta have all the songs and listen to them all and decide which ones I like and love and don't like, and all that stuff. And the same thing with gear. It's compulsive. It's the thing. It's the only thing I'm really interested in. So I can't help but focus on it. So like I said, whatever works with you, the old saying, whatever floats your boat, whatever works that you get a great sound out of, that's what you do. And so there is an argument from me that's like, no, man, if you're not recording with the real stuff, you don't got a real sound. No, absolutely not. The new Extreme album, the new song, right, that Nuno put out. When I heard it, I absolutely loved it. But the first thing I thought of was he was probably using a plugin for sound. His guitar tone sounds fantastic, but it sounds not digital to me. It sounds perfect. Like processing has a perfection to it that is nice. It's a pleasant thing to hear, right? Sounded great. So I think that I would be really interested to see if he used any kind of plugins or anything like that. I saw an interview. I guess he's using a rat pedal and some amps and stuff. But I'm wondering if they actually mic'd up amps or if they did some of the tracks with some plugins or some kind of digital. So so curious. Like I said, I'm curious. I could be totally wrong. But the whole point is, like I said, you use whatever inspires you, and then the audience will decide if it's good or not. So that's what the gear does. Okay. Hold on, I'm missing a... Okay, here it is. Antique Rocker says, hey, went to Carter's Vintage Guitars while I was on vacation and fell in love with a Rickenbacker 370-12 RM. He needs his wife's approval. That's important. Like I said, the most expensive guitar is the one that causes a divorce. Will it hold value for 10 years? Will a signature version hold value better than a non-signature? So the value thing, remember, like I said, I don't like to talk about guitars like investments. I'm not an investment channel. We're not going to talk about like stocks. What you want to do is buy guitars low and sell high. I don't want to really come across like that, but it's important to discuss things I've seen. Obviously, I've bought and sold gazillions of guitars. I'm over-exaggerating, but you understand enough to where I've seen a lot of the variables. What I will tell you is this. I will never subscribe to the idea that only made in USA guitars hold value. That is not something. Obviously, made in Japan guitars have proven that they have value, and now made in Korea guitars have value, and of course, just brands in general have value, that hold value or increase in value. The next argument is like, is any guitar besides like an American Fender, a Gibson Les Paul, ever going to have like the high dollar values of that? I don't actually care. So, I don't really care. If somebody's like, will a Schecter ever be worth $100,000? I'm like, screw you and your $100,000. I don't really care. I don't understand why they're $100,000 anyways. I get why things are expensive because only if you can have them. Fine. But guys who buy $100,000 guitars are buying art. They're not buying guitars anymore. That's like I said, that's a rich person's game. And like I've said before, rich people take their junk to the auction and poor people take it to the dump, right? They buy stuff because they park money in it. I am not rich. I am far from it in every way. However, I have a few rich friends, like real ones, like they're rich for real. And I watch how they act, and that's how they act. They buy almost everything as a strategic investment. Like everything is like, I'm going to buy this car and then I'm going to drive it for a year and then I'm going to sell it for $20,000 more than I paid for it. And I'm going to buy this guitar and I'm going to play it and then I'm going to sell it for like, everything is this like how it's going to expand their portfolio kind of logic. I don't begrudge that. I wish that I had that instilled in me. I don't. I'm as dumb as most of us, which is, I like it. So I bought it. So anyways, what's the point? The point to this story is that if you buy a Rickenbacker, it is going to hold value in the idea that Rickenbacker will continue to raise their prices, new ones. So over time, it'll go up. That is real common with a lot of guitar companies. So for instance, here's where your two upsides are. For instance, I use the Mexican Strat to actually explain this the most logically. I was talking to Kevin today. Kevin's one of the patrons, and he was saying he just bought a Mexican Strat made in Mexico. I don't know what's wrong with me. Made in Mexico Strat. He bought it for $550. Really cool guitar. It's an FSR, which is Fender Special Run. And what's interesting about that is I think Made in Mexico's now were $850 during COVID, and now they've kind of parked down, right? You can get them for in the high sevens, right? They've dropped a little bit. You can get a sale on them. I think I see 10% sales constantly. Doesn't matter. What really matters is this. In 2010, I could sell a Mexican Strat brand new to you for $500. Now, I know there's inflation stuff, but my point is, if you bought a Mexico Strat from my store back in 2000, let's say 9, you probably didn't even pay $5. You paid $450. Because remember, in 2009, we're still in a recession, so it was like everything was like whatever we could do to move stuff, right? $450. Now it's selling used for $550. I'm not saying you made $100. What I'm saying is that's one of the things that's great about guitars. It's not like you bought the iPad 1 and now iPad 10,000's out and your iPad 1, even though it still works, is now just junk to everybody for the most part. These guitars just don't outdate, so therefore they get to hold value, right? Remember Fender's biggest problem when Fender tried to go public and get an IPO, their biggest pushback was every product they make, they have to compete with. That was in the New York Times and I think the Washington Post as well. They both said, or basically one of those big articles said, Fender's biggest problem is every product it makes competes with itself. And that's not a great thing for an investor to want to invest in, right? You want somebody who's constantly like got a new customer base coming for the new product. And so to answer your question about the Rickenbacker, yeah, I think if you bought a Rickenbacker, would it go up in value in 10 years? I don't know. Would it hold value? That was your main question. I don't know, but I would think so. I would think that in 10 years, it's worth what you paid for it on any given day. Statistically, that's what happens in the past. I understand that's not what you're asking to justify to buy it. I understand I think, I'm reading from your question, if you could tell your wife like, hey man, this is like saving money. I will tell Antique Rocker, I'll timestamp this, watch this, right? Antique Rocker, find this spot, get your wife, and I'm going to talk to your wife right now. Hello, Antique Rocker's wife, Mrs. Antique Rocker. What I can tell you is I've been married now for 24 years, and my wife doesn't care what guitars I buy because she has seen me consistently sell them for what I paid for them or more over and over again. And she knows that deep down, no matter what I really spend, she looks at this, okay? I'm not joking. Like, this is a savings account, and if I die, she's going to sell all this stuff. So, I'm not saying she wants me to die. I'm just saying, like, if I die tomorrow, like, my wife's not going to build take a room in the house and put all my guitars in it. She's going to sell this stuff because she knows that it's all worth money, and it usually goes up in value. So what he's talking about buying it does have value. It's so if that's what it takes to get the okay from the CFO. I like to call the wife sometimes the CFO of a company. Your marriage is a company, and she's the CFO. She's in charge of the money for sure. Anyways, for most people. And but if maybe if it's the husband, it's fine. But anyways, in this case, that would be my suggestion. On the signature versus non-signature guitars, signature guitars tend to go up in value. That is not a guarantee, but it is definitely 60% of the time. And I say 60% of the time. I really think it's 90, but I would say 60 to be safe. If you bought 10 signature guitars, 10 years later, I would bet good cash money that 6 out of those 10 are worth more than you paid, for sure. And I've explained this before. It's because they don't make as many artist guitars as people think. Artists don't go away. Sure, they die, unfortunately, but they don't go away. We love Eddie Van Halen. Everybody's listening to as much of Eddie Van Halen, if not more, than they were before he's passing. And I'm just picking him because he's recently passed. So my point is, you're always going to have someone who loves that artist. And then there's always going to be somebody interested in their guitar. And if they stop making that guitar, then they're even harder to get. Or if they don't make as many as you think they need. And a lot of times they'll oversaturate the market with artist guitars. That happens a lot, that they oversaturate the market with guitars. And all kinds of companies do this. And then everybody goes, oh, well, these artist guitars, they're not selling. And I'm like, yeah, but here's the problem. Once they stop, the artist is still gaining fans. See, you guys walking this math with me, right? So if let's say an artist has 1 million fans, and out of 1 million fans, you can convert 1,000 of them to buy guitars, and the guitar companies decide to build 2,000 guitars. So it's twice as many guitars as there is guitar playing fans to buy them that have the money, that have the market. The problem is that in 10 years, they're still gaining fans, but there's still only 2,000 guitars. In fact, there's not 2,000 because not all 2,000 will be for sale. So in 10 years, when you still have basically 1,000 people, or maybe even 500 people who want those guitars, you'll be lucky to see 300-400 of those guitars out. So that's usually the logic with that. So that's what I've learned with artist guitars. And that's also my point. If you have an artist guitar and you want to sell it, or you're thinking of selling it, and it's not worth as much as you think it is, wait, it will be. I promise. I know it's easy to say, so nonchalant, like, hold it. I know it's money, and you need to recycle it back into your account, so to speak. But if you have the means, wait. I tell everybody, this is the big thing with guitars. You should never really lose money with the guitar, any kind of guitar. It doesn't even make sense. It's very rare. I mean, of course, you could pick some obscure off-brand beginner guitar and stuff like that, but even then, it has some value. But with most guitars, if the issue is you're upset, like if you're upset that you're losing money, then just don't sell it. Find a way not to sell it. It will pan out. They keep going up over time. Even ebb and flows up and down, it still ends up. That's just, and assuming we don't have zombies and everything goes to crap in the world, of course, and then you're just going to have to use guitars to bludgeon zombies. I'm sorry. All right. Hector Cruz says, hey, Phil, new guitar day, Epiphone, Adam Jones. I am being too critical. Okay. Am I being too critical? He wants to know, is he being too critical of a scuffed output jack cover and a couple of frets that are scratchy to my hand? If it was listed as mint, should this be expected from Epiphone? Well, this is an interesting question. That really comes down to your expectations, right? So what was your expectations and what was your due diligence? Now, I'm assuming because you said it was described as mint, you bought this guitar used or this instrument used as you bought it used. It really comes down to reasonable description, okay? And again, I'm just telling you how I operate. I'm not telling you what the rules are. I'm telling you how I operate. I had a guitar recently I bought. It was everything they said, and it was one thing they didn't mention. In other words, there was a problem with the guitar, and they didn't mention it. But they didn't hide it either. They just didn't highlight it. Now, I know that sounds weird what I'm saying. Understand what I'm saying. To some people, I don't even know if they would have noticed the problem that I'm discussing. So I took it upon myself to say, okay, look, I'm going to own this one, and I'm going to fix it, okay? And I'm not going to go to them and say anything. However, sometimes there is kind of like an onus on them. In other words, like, hey, man, really? You couldn't have pointed this out? Or, hey, your pictures were oddly... Because that sometimes happens, right? They got a ton of pictures, but none of the pictures of the spots that have problems. You're like, that's really convenient, isn't it? Doesn't it seem too convenient? You got 8 pictures of this thing and none of them of the problem. What I will tell you is this. The frets are no problem. If the frets are scratchy, then you can just polish them. That's the easy thing. I got 1,000 videos out there. Trust me, there's a video on how to fix every kind of fret problem you can find. And that's just from me. And then there's tons of other great YouTube channels with great videos you can check out as well. And it's all free. So keep in mind, you can fix that. The scratchy output jack, scuffed output jack cover. 2 things. I mean, if it was me and you like the instrument, let's start with the easiest thing. You like it. If you got it and you like it, there's a couple issues. And now what's really happening is, you're not happy about those. I would go to the seller and say, point out the issues and ask them if there's any way they can kind of come to a mutual decision between you two to kind of make this a little better. Like, for instance, hey, I want to polish these frets and I want to get a new output jack plate. This is what it's going to cost. Can you compensate me on that? That might be the easiest solution there, right? If you're asking me if it's okay if you contact them and say, hey, based on these issues, I don't think this is a quality instrument. I want to send it back. I mean, you can send it back for anything. Me, if I was in that situation, let's say those things happened and it was me, I would ask to send it back, but I would pay the shipping back. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you what I've done in the past. I kind of just would come to them and say, hey, look, there's a couple things on this. You didn't mention it. I'm actually not bonding with it because of that. I'll gladly pay the shipping back to you. And can we refund this back out, right? Because I rather not have to resell it and take a bigger loss or sit on it, like I said, until one day it's worth, more than I paid. But that's your kind of things you can do. I would try to find a solution with the seller to just kind of discount something for you a little bit to kind of, like I said, fix those issues. It's not that hard to figure out. The plate, you look it up, you find one on, Sweetwater or All Parts or StewMac or whatever, eBay, and it's like $8 and you go, okay, and then polish the frets. You can polish the frets with all kinds of stuff you can buy. And then you come up with a number that says like $19 or $50, or just say, hey, give me 10% off or whatever it is. Just ask them, hey, can you compensate me on this? They may want to compensate you. They might realize like, oh, I'm sure I should have pointed it out. That happens sometimes. They'll say, hey, look, oh yeah, you're right. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I missed that. Yeah, let's work this out. Sometimes they like to, by the way, sometimes they just go, send the guitar back. I get that a lot too. You get that. So just send the guitar back. And and then you can decide if you want to send it back or if you want to just like take it the way it is. But the good news is, I like the good news part of every story. The good news is those issues, the way you describe them, do not sound like they're enough that they can be fixed easily. So that's just my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents. And my 2 cents is free because you sent. Who sent? You sent for me? Litvey says, Alnico, like Dylan's, or ceramic like yours. In the P90s. Nice catch there that we both use different magnets for different reasons. Also super sad to see the Patreon Facebook group gone. It is gone. There was he said Patreon. There's a Facebook group for all Know Your Gear people. You can go to that. But there was a private group for the top tiers of Patreon for Facebook. The change is the patrons don't even know this, so everybody gets to learn it before the patrons let pay, which is Patreon has all these services. I didn't understand what was going on. I've mentioned this, guys, before with Patreon, that they weren't providing a lot of services, and I was really confused why we couldn't do certain things since we have so many patrons, and we, it'd be nice to manage that whole thing process better. What I learned was that I've been on Patreon so long, 25 years now. Just kidding. Whatever. I've been on Patreon long. It's just funny how the internet works. You've been on for 8 months. You're grandfathered in. I'm grandfathered in. So what I didn't know is that I am grandfathered in to the 5% deal. So I guess Patreon takes 5% plus fees, right? They take all the credit card fees and processing fees, exchange fees, but it's 5%. They get 5% of all the money. Now it's 8%, but I'm grandfathered at 5. So what they did is they go, hey, nice little thing Patreon does. I'm just talking about this. I know you guys don't care about Patreon, but it's about business, and business is a weird thing. So they go, hey, you're grandfathered in for 5%. And you're like, that's awesome. And they go, the new rate's 8. By the way, we have all these new services, but you can't have them unless you agree to switch to 8%. It's like Netflix going, hey, we grandfather you in at $12. It's now $15, but we're not going to let you see all the movies. Like, if you want to see all the movies, and I'm like, well, then I'm not grandfathered in, am I? I mean, it sounds like I'm trapped with a lower percent, but I get less stuff, right? So I'm like, all right. So long story short, something new is coming. So Litve, look out for that. But Litve had more of the questions. Ceramic versus the Alnico. They do different things. First of all, Alnico 5 is my favorite magnetic material. I don't know why I gravitate towards it. I used to think that a lot of the magnet stuff was not hocus pocus. I just didn't really think it mattered as much as it did. I believe that it was like, yeah, it was part magnet, part wire, part of stuff. I've really come to the conclusion with trying all the dozens and dozens of pickups, or hundreds actually, pickups in the collection downstairs, that there's just weird. It almost got to the point where I was trying to pick out. And one night I was trying to see if I could pick out every time there was an Alnico 5 in a bunch of humbuckers. And I just put them all out. I have them in these cartridges, and I would load them in, and I would go, okay. And then of course I was like, well, some are wound different. Some, are going to have different, outputs, or all kinds of stuff. And really, I just kept gravitating towards that. But when you make a pickup, that's a different thing. So that's what I'm getting to with your question. When I make a pickup, I'm usually after something, a certain effect I like that a pickup does. So where Dylan, I think, is, and I'm just, my impressions, because playing his pickups, he was going for this mid-range clarity thing. And I don't want to keep saying mid-range, but it's clarity, right? He was going for clarity, which is a very important thing, because sometimes P90s are all about the punch. It's all fist, right? Just, yeah, here you go. His have more articulate sound to them. And that's what I drew from them. That's what I got from them when I was playing them. Where the ones I wound always had more punch. It was always like, I just want to, right in the neck even, right? I just want you to know this just happened to you, right? And that's what I'm going for, because to me, I love Dylan's pickups. I thought they were fantastic. And I could totally see where actually more players would be looking for that, specifically because not every company does that, right? He's making a very unique sounding P90 for a lot of reasons, but also a very good one. So there's two things. But like I said, I went all like just punch you in the neck. So because to me, it's like, when I'm using P90s a lot, it's just like, I just want to put it in a Marshall and just want every chord to sound like it just started an AC/DC song. That's what I'm going for. It's just like, oh, like a little thump in the speakers, right? So that's what I'm going for. Now, of course, clarity is important too, but that's what I was going for those. So did you ask me though? Was the part of the question? So you're asking me, which one would I guess you're asking which one I pick. What's interesting. Which one would I pick? I don't know. I know that's a cop out. Like, I don't know how to say that, because it would be one thing if we wound the same pickup and I'd say, oh, his is like a little better than mine. Well, they're different things. I would have different reasons for them. I mean, I don't live in a world where I only get one P90 guitar, so I can't really say like, oh, if I only have one, it'd be this, because I have multiple P90 guitars and I like them to do different things. Think about this. I have, it's funny. I think it's the most expensive guitar I own. The most expensive guitar I own is a frameless television that has P90s. And I love it. And they're Seymour Duncan P90s. And see how I kind of chuckle when I say that? Because like, to me, it just chuckles that it's like that guitar is super expensive. It's crazy expensive. It's so expensive. I could have never got it if I wasn't on YouTube. It was one of those YouTube deals, right? Like if I didn't work it out with the company, there's just no way I could come up with the justification of a price point like that. But it was just so amazing as a guitar. And that's one thing that happens. You're all guilty. Don't judge me. You're all guilty of being in a store one day playing a guitar that you love and it's on a discount blowout and you're like, I gotta buy it. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. That's how this was. It was like, how do I not buy this once in a lifetime opportunity? Especially for me. Sometimes when I get a deal because I'm a YouTuber, I'm always like, well, I might not be a YouTuber in another year. So who the hell knows, right? Might take that opportunity now. If I really thought like, oh, I'm going to be around for the next 20 years, the biggest YouTuber ever, watch, it'll just happen, I would probably put more weight into like, I can wait till it's like a time to do that. But a lot of times when I see an opportunity, I'm like, I better take it now. So anyways, what's funny about the guitar is it just has these basic Seymour Duncans and they sound fantastic in that guitar. So a lot of you guys are saying the frame is sick. Somebody's like, I wish the D series made the television. I agree, but the television I have, here's the one thing that's cool about that guitar. Okay. The one thing that's cool besides, like I like it. If I hand the guitar to anyone, everyone's reaction is the same. I don't mean when they plug it in and play it, just when I hand it to you physically, everyone almost freaks out. Whether I've had two televisions before. I did a review of one of them. I've never done the review of the actual one I have now because I just don't know who would be in the market for this exotically crazy, expensive, weird guitar. So if that's something, maybe is curiosity a thing? Just, right? I already know from the market, there's nobody in the market for one of these things. And so, Frameless doesn't make that stuff unless you order it. So it's not only super expensive, but then there's a waiting list or not, wait time to get one, but it's 100% hollow. It's a hollow guitar. It's this thick. It's like the thickness of an Ibanez Sabre and it's hollow. It's wacky. It's a wacky guitar. They're not all like that. Not all the televisions. Some are solid, some are semi-hollow. Some are chambered. Some are, this is like full on crazy, like hollow. It's got a little bit of block underneath the bridge, but then I think the whole thing is hollow. So it's a wacky guitar. So, okay. Okay. I'm just reading some of the comments. You guys are so funny. I'll actually lose money if I don't buy this. Okay, Alex says, hey, Phil, I just bought a Made in Japan Strat a few months ago. Just realized a couple frets, I think last frets, are flat on the low E side, and the last three are flat. What should I do? Okay, so what he's talking about is the fret is flat on the top, and that's because somebody has leveled it. Like I said, we say crown and level. It's one of the dumbest things we say. I don't know why. Maybe because it just rolls off the tongue so much easier. I crown and leveled it. You don't crown and level a guitar. That doesn't make any sense. You level and crown it. I don't want to be like that person. It's actually pronounced whatever. But the point is, though, is that in an instructional sense, you level the frets by using a file or a block with sandpaper, and you make them all flat. And then you use a crowning file, which is rounded, and you round them over to as much of not to a point, but as round it as possible. So what has happened in your guitar is somebody has decided to level your frets, but then forgot to crown or didn't have a crowning file, because everybody is dangerous because everybody has like a sandpaper and a piece of wood. You could just use a piece of a 2x4 and some sandpaper, start leveling your frets. You gotta understand, everybody has a glorious imagination of how frets are getting treated. But let me tell you, if you go to factories, sometimes you watch them level and crown, even expensive guitars, you kind of just chuckle like, I wouldn't do that to my guitar, and I love my guitar. right? Like it's a weird thing. But my point is, somebody leveled your frets, so they need to be crowned. So how do you fix that? You can take it and have it done, or you can buy a crowning file. You can buy them from StewMac. That's where I get mine. Their quality, I recommend them. But they're expensive. You can find other places as well. I've done reviews of a bunch of other places. So just get a crowning file and crown your own frets. So I have a ton of videos. In fact, heck, almost all my deep dives have some kind of version of walking you through a problem like that. But that's what's going on. The reason you want to do this is you're not only going to have issues if some are flatter than others with maybe having dead notes, but your intonation is going to be a little bit jacked. There's a reason why we want the frets crowned and rounded to the top. We want the string, when the string touch, here's what we want. We want the string, when it touches the fret, to touch the least amount of material as possible, right? So think of it like, I'm going to show you this weird thing using this remote control. Anyways, if your fret was this thin remote control and the string landed right on top of it, you would imagine the distance from the back, we're going to say the back is right here, from the back here of the string to the bridge is so much distance. If this was flat, and it wouldn't be this wide, but you get the idea. If it's flatter, the point is going to move. Does it make sense? And it throws your intonation off. That was a really horrible way to instruct it with the thing, but I grabbed the material thing for this thing I saw here. But my point is your intonation will be off. You'll hear it in those notes, is my guess. And so, yeah, you can fix it, and I would suggest you do so. Mr. S says, hey, happy Friday. One, thoughts on playing the Somnium for a while. So, I don't know. Let me answer that question after the second one. Thoughts on modular guitars? Okay, for versatility and to temper gas, etc. I'll try these pickups instead of buying so many guitars. Sure. Yeah, does it work? Absolutely. Look, there are two pieces of gear that I have owned in my life that have seriously changed everything I do when it comes to late night gear shopping. Okay. Late night gear shopping is my problem. I used to have a problem like all of us. We used to go to a guitar store all the time, right? That was problematic, okay? Because you would go, you'd go to the guitar store, or you'd be in a new town, or on the side of town you're on, or are you leaving work? I used to go during lunch at work. I would go to guitar stores for lunch, checking out gear, of course. Safari, sure. The problem now is all the gear's on my phone, and all it takes is Netflix to make one crappy TV show or movie that I'm not interested in. The next thing you know, I'm buying crap on Reverb, trying to fill my soul with a pedal. So, anyways, what's my point? My point is the two pieces of gear that have solved that for me. I absolutely love the Line 6 M5. I have to think about this. They make an M9, M13, M5. Any one of them work. I have the M5. I have a video. I did it. It was one of my first videos on YouTube. I should redo that video. That pedal, you can pick up that pedal all day long for $100. If you find it new and it's like $120, trust me, go ask somebody for a discount. You get it for $100. You can find them used under $100 all day long. You can buy a Line 6 M5 pedal for $100. Why do I suggest the pedal? In that pedal is flangers, phasers, tremolos, delays, reverbs, wah pedals, auto wah, filters, choruses, compressors, everything. But it's only one effect at a time. And the reason that's important is this. I found that I needed to have all these pedals. And sometimes I watch a video on YouTube, and innocently, I'm just watching a YouTube video. All I'm trying to do is maybe go to sleep and watch a video. And then Josh Scott's telling me I need a chorus pedal. And I'm like, I don't have a chorus pedal. And I'm like, but I tried a chorus pedal and I didn't like it. He goes, oh, well, you didn't try the stereo chorus. I'm like, oh, that's the problem. I didn't try the stereo chorus. That's why my whole life is horrible and I need to fix it. And next thing I know, I'm on Reverb going, okay, stereo chorus right here. Okay, I need to order that. It's $100. I'll get it sent to the house and I'll have it in a few days. And then I'll try stereo chorus. You know what I do now? I get my ass up. I walk over to my pedals and I grab my M5 and I find it. It's always in there. Whatever it is I think I need. I go in there, I'll find it. And it may not be as cool as the one that I just saw, but I'll put it in and plug in the amp. It takes 10 minutes. I figured this out. It's 10 minutes. If you're lucky, 20, and 20 is rounding up. In 10 minutes, you'll go, gonna order it right now. My credit card's already on auto, on Reverb. 9 minutes and you're like, yeah, this was cool. I think I'm done. First product I suggest if you want to knock off late night pedal buying or just pedal buying for no random reason of like, oh, I never thought about trying this compressor versus this optical compressor versus, right? It's in this pedal, right? It's a version of that. Now, again, any multi-processor, any of that stuff will do this. But what's great about the pedal is true bypass. So when you unplug it, it's, you just leave it. I just leave it on my board and there it is. And then I plug it in. I don't even have it plugged in unless I go to plug it in personally to check something out. So there you go. I think there's even EQ pedals in there. Yeah, there is. I think there's parametric and regular. It's all of it. If you don't want to use one pedal time, the M9 does like 6 and the M13, and they stopped making, I think, those two. So you can buy those cheap now. But M5, $100. Just don't go crazy. Don't get dumb and go, I'm going to get the M13 and get all of it. No, just trust me. For $100, if you think this will solve your craziness of having to try pedals on the random all the time, buy this thing and put it away and pull it out every time you get the impulse and play for 10 minutes before you purchase. Maybe it's like I almost feel like a therapist now. Like, make sure you buy this pedal and play for 10 minutes of whatever effect you're about to buy. That does it. The second thing that helps is the Somnium guitar that I have, which is the guitar that lets me eject and put in any kind of pickup system. And the reason is for that same reason. Oh, I never had a foil guitar. I need a foil guitar. See, the problem with pickups isn't that you buy pickups. The problem is most of you buy guitars to buy pickups. That is the crazy part of pickups. See, pickups sound cheap. They're not. They're actually the gateway to the most expense you'll ever have. Because what happens is a pedal our pickup for the most part is $100. And that's not cheap, but it doesn't cost $100. At least when you buy a pedal for $100, you get a pedal, you plug it in and you play it. When you get a pickup for $100, either A, you end up not buying the pickup, you buy a guitar that has that pickup, which then that guitar is whatever you're going to spend. Or you buy a pickup and now you need a guitar to stick it in there. Right? So next thing you know, I got a set of pickups. You know how many times I meet some guy who's like, I got a set of pickups the other day. Like, now I just got to figure out what guitar I'm going to buy to put them in. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So I have a guitar that lets me take any pickup and shove it in there. So yeah, it's not cheap. I mean, they're crazy now. You got to understand, this is where I have trouble. So that's my answer to that. Here's what sucks for you guys. This is what sucks for you. I need to go back to the question because I want to give Mr. The question is, what do I think of the Somnium guitar? Well, there's a lot of things have changed since I got the Somnium guitar. First of all, when I bought the Somnium guitar, the cartridges were just as expensive as they are now. So I bought $2,600 worth of cartridges. What I can tell you about Somnium cartridges, you do not need $2,600. I learned that the hard way. I was convinced that I need all these cartridges, load all these pickups in it. And what I realized is no, you just need the basics. You need a set of, 3 single coils, 2 humbuckers, 2 P90s. Maybe if you need TV Jones, you get TV Jones, right? You just need a couple cartridges, but that's it. And to be honest with you, I hope one day Somnium just sells you, because the bottoms are all the same, just the tops. So you don't even have to buy the whole cartridges, maybe just different tops. Sure, it's a little bit more work because you're always putting a pickup in the cartridge, but trust me, for what you're doing, for most practical purposes, it's more than enough. You don't need to rapid switch because you're trying to make a video quickly. That's one. The second thing, though, is that the guitars have gone up a lot. I think the last I looked, they were $3,500. And I get a lot of emails from you guys that buy them, and it always seems like there seems to be some kind of issue with them. I just had somebody email us, and I sent the email, and it was someone who bought one recently, and I guess the nuts, it was bad. The pictures were bad. I can share them with you. Actually, I'll share them so you don't think I'm just out there. Is it throwing shade? Is that what it is? I like the Somnium guitar. That's not where I'm going with this. I need access. What is this? Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is one of the issues that was sent to me. Okay, here it is. So you can see right here, this nut is crazy. See how, what is this? I don't know what this is. So I'm just making you aware. I keep getting sent things from people. Normally I get sent emails saying, hey, I have a problem with this, and that's fine. And I don't have any testimonial to know if that's true or not. But a lot of times you guys will send me pictures. So that's one of the things. I really suggest that if you look at a Somnium, if they still make the Tele version that I have, that's what you should get. I really think that that's the guitar that works. So, I recently got asked, why did I paint the headstock black? I didn't. There's a decal. That's a decal on the headstock. That's because I needed to make these videos now, and the guitar was in the shop downstairs being worked on. I'm doing something to it. It's got a new neck on it. I replaced the neck on the Somnium guitar, and I replaced the tuning keys. And long story short, nothing was ready yet. I am putting the Somnium logo back on the guitar. That's not what I'm, it's not like I don't want Somnium logo on there. It was, I'm changing, I changed the neck and now I'm changing the tuning keys. I'll do a video explaining all of this. There's a reason why I'm doing it. I didn't want to change the neck. I just wanted to change the tuning keys. Unfortunately, I couldn't change the tuning keys without doweling the neck, re-drilling the neck, and then I would have to paint the headstock and go through all that. I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. So, my Somnium guitar neck, and I don't know if they're still doing it, that neck was made by Crook Guitars in Virginia, who makes fantastic necks. Somnium did not, it was okay. It needed some filing and stuff, but you see my deep dives. A lot of companies are got that problem, but that's one of the things that I will tell you is that if you're going to get a Somnium, I definitely love the Telecaster or that Stratocaster, more of a basic body shape, and go and get that. That's what I would suggest. But like I said, I think they're $3,500 now. So that's something you'll have to consider. It's a big expense, but I love the guitar's function. It's kind of like one of those things. I just want to say what Somnium has done, in my opinion, with the pickup changing system is the only system I would ever consider. I have tried Relish. It's an interesting idea, and it might be more practical for some of you guys because it's just like a couple pickups and it's kind of, the thing. But you gotta understand what I can do with that Somnium guitar is insane. I can literally take pickups right now and in 5 minutes have them in the guitar. Any pickups. I mean, you could just show up at my house right now with 2 sets of pickups and I can have them in the guitar in under 5 minutes, maybe 15, round it up a little bit, but that's nothing. 10 minutes is crazy. So, and I also need to point out, this is important because I don't want you guys to think I didn't say this to you. I keep mentioning my Somnium is modified. My Somnium guitar is modified. So I will gladly share those modifications. People have emailed me and asked me what they were. I just sent them a little thing and it says, this is what the modifications are, right? I just changed out some components, added some features, all in the electronics and stuff. So I'm sure Somnium could have done it if I asked them to do it. I just did it myself because it was easier that way. But to me, it is paramount. If without the modifications, the guitar was very limited in what I could do with it. You guys, most people would not have a problem. But remember, I needed the guitar to be everything to everyone if I want to use it for what I'm using it for. And like I said, there's a ton of guitars out there, ton of modular guitars. But my Somnium, I like the design of their system the most. Like I said, I don't think they got the necks down right, or maybe they do. Like I said, what's great about them is they're a small company and you can actually talk to the owner. So I would suggest talking to him. Reach out to him. I hope that answers some questions. I know that's a guitar that always gets a lot of questions, and I obviously I've had it since the day they sent it, so I have no intention to get rid of it. Plus, I don't think anyone would want to buy it with all those cartridges. I couldn't sell it with all those cartridges. It would be a fortune to buy that guitar with the cartridges now. But I would never get rid of it. It's really cool, and like I said, you'll see it. You'll see why I changed it. It's an actual video I was working on for the headstock. It will make sense. 94 Dodge Dude says, experiences with hand-built acoustics. I tried one and now I'm following his Rocky Mountain Lutherie online course to make my own. Any advice on building? I've never built an acoustic. It's not something I've ever done. I've worked on so many acoustics, but I do not do like deep repairs of acoustics. There are luthiers who are amazing acoustic guys. There's a lot of people. My experience with acoustics has nothing to do with just the area I live in. Where I live, there is a lot of electric players and acoustic players, but there are not a lot of high-end acoustic players, and that's where you're going to get a lot of deep repairs of acoustics. You see a lot of that in Nashville. You see a lot of it around the country where you have guys who repair acoustics because acoustics are super expensive. I mean, it's easy to take an acoustic apart and fix everything in it when the guitar is worth thousands of dollars and people are willing to pay you hundreds of dollars to fix it. It's not so exciting when the guitar was $799 new and now they're looking at $350 in repairs. They're not very excited about that. So I've done so many acoustic repairs, but they tend to be the same repairs over and over again. And, again, not really dramatic like that. And of course, in Arizona, a lot of broken braces, cracks, a lot of cracks, cleating for cracks and stuff, a lot of dryness. It's just things I'm just really good at because you do so much of them. So on that note, that's what I'm giving you on that. On experiences with hand-built acoustics, I've played so many of them. There's a McKnight acoustic. It's not me, right? But he makes amazing guitars. There's a lot of that stuff. I like them. I own a bunch of acoustics, pretty much all. And here's the little thing about this. All acoustics, even $100 acoustics, are hand-built. So all of them. There's no exceptions to this. They really can't CNC out an acoustic. They can CNC out the pieces, but essentially somebody's got to hand assemble them and hand finish them. So even $200 acoustics are hand-built. It's like it's so And same thing with semi-hollow bodies and hollow bodies. It's a lot of hand work. It's very hard for them to get a machine to get most of that stuff done, especially when you're wetting wood and putting it in jigs and waiting for it to dry and then shaping it and gluing it together by hand. All this again. So essentially, like if you have a Taylor, if you have a Martin, if you have an Ibanez acoustic, they're hand built too. But I understand what you're saying, 94 Dodge dude. When I'm just telling you this so we're not confused. Okay, everyone pretty much has a hand built acoustic, but when you're saying experience with hand built acoustics, I'm taking that as by a individual luthier making you one beautiful acoustic guitar, right? That's like a work of art. Like I said, I like to call that as I forget the word, artisan. I like to call it artisan, where, like I said, the person whose name on the guitar built your guitar. I've played a few. I've never really pulled the trigger on that because I'm happy with my Taylors. I'm happy with my Martins. My next acoustic, there's some really cool ones coming on the channel, but my next big acoustic purchase might be a Gibson. Again, I need another Gibson acoustic. I don't know. See how I said that? I need it. We're all messed in the head. Dumac says, hey, what are your thoughts on Glenn Fricker's argument that pickups don't matter with high gain? Well, that sticks to that same analogy, right? Like EMG, whether on steak or on card, or it's like A1 steak sauce. Wow. Whether like A1 steak sauce, whether on cardboard or steak is the same. So the question, I did not see the video. So first of all, I can't respond to it detailed because I didn't watch the detailed video. I love Glenn's videos. I do watch some from time to time. I've met Glenn many times. We've had many conversations. We've done videos together. He's the last guy you think would like me, and he would probably think I'm the last guy he would like, and vice versa. But like I told you before, I don't know if I should say this, but I really think he would have a problem with it. Glenn likes to approach his YouTube channel like playing the heel. The heel, is that how you say it? He basically is like he's like a wrestler. It's all about this, like he wants to put out this, the heel, like he's the bad guy, right? And so he yells and screams and does other stuff. He's a little like that in person, but he's a lot nicer too. And not, you get the idea. So I just like to point out that because I think people picture like me and him hanging out, him screaming at things. That's not how it works, right? He's really down to earth and he's really smart guy. So that being said, I know he's got a ton of videos like how the speakers, the only thing that matters, and tubes don't matter and things don't matter. And I will say that him being right or wrong isn't really relevant. Here's what I mean by that. This goes to what I said earlier about who it matters to, right? Glenn isn't stating things as a fact. He approaches it like it's a fact, right? Okay, he approaches like, yeah, this doesn't matter, and this is the only thing that matters. But realistically, it's just his opinions, right? His opinions based on his experiences and what he does. For instance, he records heavy metal guitar players, and he's like, look, this is what I notice matters in these things. I have the same approach a little bit with guitars. Obviously, if I say, hey, look, I repair guitars, and these are the things I see that matter, and this doesn't matter to the end result of a guitar being good or bad. The point of this is, he's basically stating that the pickups really had little to do with it. This is probably true in high gain. I mean, obviously, if you're running a ton of gain, do you really notice it? It matters to me. I'm very sensitive to how the amp or the interface. Even look, to me, using a pickup is actually important to me, because when I even run Amplitude software, a pickup is big difference to me. But I changes what I think of it. Like sometimes our changes what I like. Like sometimes I like the DiMarzio X2N in a plugin, because for some reason I just like having the more output on the pickup. I feel like I can dial in the sounds a little better on the what do you call it, on the plugin and stuff on the software. So I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. To me, the pickup matters. See what I'm saying? Like, it sounds like we're arguing, him and I, but we're not. I disagree with him because that's not how I perceive it for me. What's great is that we are both can be right. This isn't like some kind of washy thing. So, can't we all work it out and be friends? No, it's just like I told you. If he thinks the best way to get a sound for him is to plug his guitar, a Harley Benton guitar, I'm just using that as an example, into a 5150 amp, and that's the perfect tone ever, and it doesn't matter what pickups are in it, well, then he's right, because as long as he's happy with the result, his audience will judge, and like I told you, they'll judge the quality of that. So in his case, his audience is his YouTube audience. Sometimes it could be your audience, like physically in a crowd when you're on stage. Same thing with here. When I make adjustments to the stuff I do on my channel, if you notice it, you're the audience, but you're also guitar players, so you're trying to learn things so you can adapt for your audience, right? Even if your audience is your Pomeranian in the corner who's just listening, everyone's making music for somebody probably other than themselves. Even if they say, I just make music for me. Nah, somebody's hearing it. There's a cat or dog in the house that unwilling audience of some sort. It's happening. So my answer to that question is, what are my thoughts on it? I think he can absolutely have that opinion, but I don't agree with it. I think it absolutely matters. Even in high gain, I think it actually matters more in high gain. So, in my experience, I cannot stand, I can tell you right now, it's not that it's bad, but if you gave me a 5150 amp or a Soldano or something with a high amount of gain, and you gave me a pickup that's like a super distortion or an X2N, or maybe a JB, but probably JB's a little tamed out because it's got more low end thump to it. But pickup that's just really, like your throttles out the amp. I cannot stand that sound. It gets too pitched into the metal zone region for me. There's too much going on. I'm like, okay. So to me, I would immediately grab, like if you said, hey, grab your Soldano and let's plug a guitar in. The guitars I would grab would be the pickups that are more like PAFs. I want the amp to do all the distortion. I don't want to help anything. I don't want to help the amp in any way for me, my sound that I like. So obviously me and Glenn would not go for the same sound. So, and like I said, and what's great is we can both be right. Isn't that awesome? It is awesome. Okay. By the way, I like to point this out. Glenn Fricker did a video on my channel about Relic guitars. There's my custom shop Relic Stratocaster right there. So think about this. I'm just pointing this out. He said anybody who has a Relic guitar is a poser. I don't disagree. I just like them. So I guess if that makes me a poser in his mind, we're still friends. But like I said, we disagree. So we disagree on a bunch of stuff, and we agree on some stuff. It's okay. Pablo says, hey, Phil, I'm interested in that new Seymour Duncan Hyper Switch. Okay. It looks like a cheap switch from the pictures. Okay, we gotta look at this thing. Seymour Duncan Hyper Switch. Oh, yeah. Okay. What the? Yeah, I can see. I know you're having that reaction. I'm having the same one. Okay. Yeah, I get it. All right. I know what we're reacting to. Hey, okay. Let me share. This is what he's talking about. It's $149. What the? It's a Bluetooth. I'm sorry, guys. No, I've not seen the video. It might be the greatest thing. This is like, hey, think of me like Glenn Fricker. I'm like, no. No, I'm not sticking Bluetooth in my guitar. I'm not doing it. I reviewed a acoustic guitar that has a Bluetooth ability to play music through it as a speaker. That I totally understand. No apps, no nothing. I don't know what the Bluetooth function is, but I've told you guys, I've sworn this off. Okay, so here's where I'm at, and then hopefully you'll understand. I reviewed a bunch of guitars. I've reviewed a bunch of amps recently in the last year or so. And people have mentioned, when I did the Enya guitar, people mentioned in the comments, hey, you didn't show the app. I don't do apps anymore. It's not because I'm an old, I don't do apps guy. It's because I have done so many products for companies where I have spent literally days, not hours, days, like 8-hour days, multiple days with their tech support from some crap that doesn't work. What I learned about apps, and I know I'm going on a tangent because you guys are probably going to tell me like, no, it's not an app. It's just Bluetooth. I don't care. I'm just saying when it comes to stuff that connects to anything, I don't care anymore. I find that I've done so many products where it doesn't work. And then you're like their QA for their problem and you're helping them fix a problem, right? Or B, hopefully I said A first. B, the problem is that it does work for me. And then I'm literally riddled with months later, you guys emailing me saying, oh, I got it and it doesn't work now. And I've seen now companies, even big ones like Fender, this is right, do things where they create software for stuff and then they don't support it anymore. And it's because we're not a tech industry, okay, for the most part. And I think that's the problem. We don't have the volume of a tech industry. And I know you guys are saying no apps. I don't care if there's an apps. I don't want a Bluetooth. So I'm just telling you, it's probably amazing. I'm just not going to do it. So there you go. I'm not doing anything Bluetooth to my guitars or amps other than I'll stream music. So I'm not sure. So that's my answer to that. Now that I just said that, I don't know. Yeah, I understand. So basically, this is actually, let me tell you what I don't like, okay, about it while I'm on this tirade. Let me go back to it. Let me go here. Fender did this guitar. Remember the Fender guitar they did with remember it had the cartridges or something, the cards, and it gave different wiring patterns, and I'm sure that's what this is. It's different wiring patterns that you can do to it, and maybe that's what the Bluetooth is. Hold on. I don't have, my mind's not, this is not going to work for my mind. It's just not the thing I'm interested in. This is one of those things where if you guys like, hey, if you know, people wanted me to review it, maybe to do a video about it, I'd probably do it, but I'm just not interested in that. So to answer your question, what's his question? It looks cheap. I don't think it looks cheap. I mean, I get it. It looks like, it looks like the inside of a, cell phone more so than inside of a guitar. That doesn't mean necessarily it's cheap. It's $149. I'm sure it's because there's some technology behind it. I saw a chip in there or something. And it says from the pictures, not many videos. Would you mind giving it your 2 cents? That was my 2 cents based on what you see. That's what I see. I wouldn't be interested in doing it. It would be a thing. Now, let me be very clear, and this is not how I normally talk. If Seymour Duncan Pickups reached out to me and said, we really want you to do a video, and they'd pay for the video. When I mean pay, I don't mean like pay me to do the video. Pay for the time that I'm going to sit and work with this thing and figure it out. I would do a review of it, but I would have to, sadly enough, anyone would understand that it's not that I wouldn't like it. I would still not own it, no matter how great it was. I mean, it was already a push for me to go to Fishman and try, a battery on a pickup again? All right, let's try that out again. That was pretty straightforward to me. I don't know if I don't want technology in my guitars. It's pretty much not something I'm interested in. So there you go. And again, I want to be clear. It's a me thing. It's not a them thing. It's not that it's junk, and it's not that they're not doing anything right. It's just not a me thing. I'm not interested in it. Okay. I almost think I'm scarred from all these companies and their weird apps. So, all right. Grumpy Mike Guitar says, for the tone jar, why not? Will the Dylan Talks Tone P90s be finding a permanent home in one of your guitars? Mine arrived yesterday. Cheers. Will they find a permanent? Probably not. But that's not, remember, here's the important thing. That's not what's important with me. Okay. What I mean, if you're trying to assess whether I like something or not. Unfortunately, you have to take into consideration my world, and please do, like I said, the world of the YouTuber gear channel. Okay. You guys probably watch enough gear channels to know there's some similarities in things that obstacles we deal with, the piles of stuff that pile up. If you get one guitar a month, that's 12 guitars a year. Some channels like me, we're getting like one guitar a week. That's 52 guitars a year. That's probably more than I'm actually getting sent to me. You could imagine if that, you've been on YouTube 5 years. You see the math on that? You're talking about, that's a lot of guitars to start stacking up. You just can't keep it all. And let's be honest, sometimes, they send you a guitar, and if they let you keep it, that's great that they let you keep it. But deep down, you're like, okay, I'd rather get more money to fund more videos and keep this channel going and do things with it and grow it. And of course, grow the income stream from it so I can do it more. Remember, the more you make from it, the more you can do with it. It's kind of just, cut your overhead down. So that doesn't really say anything. Now, as you guys know, I collect pickups, and one of the reasons is I'm a huge pickup fan. So the real question is not whether or not they'll go on a guitar or not, because I don't have a guitar for them to go into. I'd have to yank, like I said, I have the television. I'm happy with the way it sounds. I have an SG. I'm happy with the way it sounds. To me, it has to start with, I'm not happy with the way something sounds, and I have to replace the pickups. So I don't have that right now. But the question is, what am I going to do with them? I'm going to keep them, and then they might end up on a guitar one day. For sure. For now, they go in the Somnium. They're still in the cartridges for the Somnium, and they'll probably stay in those cartridges until or if I have to review other P90s and use those cartridges. I only have 2 cartridges for P90s. I only have 1 of each. I thought I ordered 4 from Somnium. I was going to say bought, so don't get confused. I think I ordered 4 and I only got 2, and then I never got the other 2, but I never paid for the other 2, so so they never sent them to me and I never paid for them. I think that's how I remember it. I could be thinking of some other pickup cartridge that I got, but I have multiples of all the cartridges except for P90s. So that's why I have them in the cartridges. So they'll go on they'll go in the guitar. So there you go. Okay. Let's see. Okay, hold on a second. By the way, no more super chats. I'm going to try to button these up, and then I'm going to try and hit another couple of topics that I got. Okay, Bernie says, hey, update please, guitars, brands, who makes whose. Okay, so he wants to do an update of who makes who. I have 2 videos of who makes who. The original one where I did on the whiteboard, that was my first YouTuber. I was barely doing YouTube at that point. I was like, literally, it was just that video. I just want to share this because every time I see that video, I always think about this. It was lunch. I was at the shop and I had lunch, and I went to the back of the store, and I don't know why, but I was waiting for whatever was being delivered for food, right? Somebody went to go get lunch. And while they're waiting, I go, I should get my phone and just do this thing. And I talked about it. I think I'm holding the phone and writing on the board. I just remember just trying to remember everything. And I did it all and there's no editing, I think, in that video, right? It's just literally all on my phone, and I'm like, goodbye. And then that video did really well. And then I made a really polished one later, and it didn't do as well, but it's more up to date. So if you're asking me, have I more up to date than the up to date one? Then yes. But if you haven't seen the updated one, there's an updated one. Yeah, we'll do another one. We need to do a post-COVID one. I actually have started the process, so do it. Those ones, believe it or not, I didn't need to do any research. Now I want to do a little research because I just want to make it a little involved. I think it's time to kind of up the game on those. Okay, Smelly Cats Jazz says, do you have any plans on checking out the new Jazzmaster pickups from EMG or the wide range Jazzmaster pickups from Fender? I don't have any plans for those. A lot of that stuff is, you guys, like I said, usually with pickups, let's keep pickups easy. Pickups are pretty much going to be into 2 categories. A company reached out and wants a video, and so that's, right, we can get some videos on the channel. It's cool. Pickups, or you guys mention pickups and I get them on the channel. That's usually the 2 places this comes from. So Dylan Talks Tone, one of you guys super chatted and said, hey, it would be really cool if you had Dylan's pickups on the channel. So of course, hey, let's do that. So that's what inspired that. You guys wanted Dylan's pickups on the channel. And also I wanted to do it because there's a weird thing that I see with YouTubers where the YouTubers don't do other YouTuber stuff. I think it's a weird thing. You would think that was absolutely what you should do. Right? I know it sounds funny, but I'm like, yeah, like when I did the Chapman guitar, I'm like, if a YouTuber has a thing, a brand especially, you think other YouTubers would either promote it or talk about it? Because either way, it's good. What I mean by that is either they'll discover that it's shenanigans and not real, and then they'll expose it, and that's good for the community, and they'll get views, and they'll be huge because they've found the mystery or whatever. But they could also do well if they just champion the cause too, right? So either way, it's fine. Like I said, if it's a good product, then champion them, because these are people who you guys are relating to, their community. Remember, everybody starts the same way on this platform. That's what's beautiful. Just somebody goes, hey, I think I'm going to talk about guitars too. And then they do. So whether they get 100 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers, it's just they're part of the community. It's funny though, sometimes the comments make you feel like that's not true. Not says to me, but I mean, even you guys, like, you feel like, the YouTubers are out to get you with the companies. You gotta understand, the companies and the YouTubers are not in cahoots for the most part. I've said this before. If anything, the companies exploit these channels massively. But let's be honest. I mean, it's a hard thing to value, but yeah, sometimes the thing with a relationship with companies is positive and sometimes it's not. But very rarely is it in cahoots the way people think it is. It's tough. I mean, I'm not saying there's not exceptions of where I'm wrong with that statement, but I'm just saying there's more exceptions where I'm right. Is what I'm saying. We're just people making videos about the thing we love, trying to do it. It's a hard gig to try to get enough money to do this, because once you start doing it, YouTube does not tolerate not doing it. You can't do one video a month. Your channel will just die. It will fade off into YouTube oblivion. And if you do them all the time, and this is just not to go on a tear on this, but just so you know, everyone doesn't understand one thing about YouTube on gear channels. And if you think about this thing, please put it in perspective. I'm not trying to say this is a hard on me. It's not, but I just want to say the one thing. Everyone can make a dozen guitar videos, maybe 2 dozen, 3 dozen. So when people start making them, their first inkling is, anybody can do this. Try to make 1,000 of them, 2,000 of them. It's tough. Like, it's hard to keep the momentum going. It's hard to look at like, for me, the hardest part of my gig that you'll probably never see is it's hard for me to look at another Strat and go, hey guys, there's another Strat. It's a different color and the pickups are different, right? It's like, it's hard, even as a gear enthusiast, to find what makes something unique and special in every product and or piece of gear. And that's why I lean into instruction. That's why I like sometimes, like, hey, let's talk about how we fix things and how we enjoy things or we repair things. But I don't know. I'm just sharing that stuff. Scent of a Wheelchair Pillow says, how do I email you pics of my PRS private stock? Well, the best way to email me anything is to go to the www.knowyourgearpodcast.com website and click there and send it there. What happens when you guys send things there? You send questions. Remember, companies, that's where companies approach us to do videos. That's all done there. It's centralized. So let me tell you why you need to do that. I do not do Instagram and I don't do Facebook. I don't do those things. I'm not on those things ever. It's very rarely. When I post, so you understand how it works on my end, is I'm sending it to someone who posts it, right? Like, it goes from my phone to the phone. We have a company phone, cell phone that does Instagram, right? And that goes on Instagram. So, I mean, I'm posting it. Like, sometimes I'm talking and it's my video. Yeah, I did it. Just like I made these YouTube videos, but I'm not out there actively interacting very much. The things that you'll notice from me that you'll notice from me is if you get like the little like I heart, or if you get a response, and it's like, thank you for subscribing. That's me. And usually because I like to babysit the videos for the first hour to 2 hours after they go out. So the videos launch out and then I get a notification just like you guys that my video was released. And then I go on there and then I usually like kind of try to interact a little bit just because I'm right there in the moment and I want to spend some time. But that being said, I don't really respond to the like DMs and all that stuff. It's just not something I'm actively doing. There's 1,000 other ways people seem to contact me. I have no idea what that is. I am on all kinds of platforms. I'm on like WhatsApp and WeChat and all that stuff, but understand I'm really not on there. That's all like companies interact there. So there's somebody here that interacts with the companies. So that's how it works. And sometimes, like I said, it's my wife and sometimes it's somebody else. But here's the important part of this. What's really important is not, it's not how you get a hold of me. It's how you don't get a hold of me. All those ways don't work. It's a fluke if you even get me to see it at that time. Because again, I'm not actively looking every day. Most of my day is not on the internet. Remember, I'm mostly off the internet making content for the internet. And when I make content or I'm making content or whatever I'm doing, there's like, I can't have computers going. I can't be on my phone. So that's the answer there. If you send it to the Ask Know Your Gear, okay, what happens is all the things you send go into a folder immediately. Okay, everything. So if you ask a question about a guitar, it goes in a guitar folder. If you ask a question about, basses, it goes in a bass folder. If you ask about the industry, it goes in an industry folder. If you want a review, it goes in a review folder, right? Everything goes in a folder. And then there's somebody here that knows what to do. There's a folder. It's called Philip. That's my folder. So if you send me something that somebody either doesn't think it's going to go for the show, like a show question, or it's not going to be something we're going to use for like a video idea, or like I said, it's not like a company interaction thing. And it's like something only I can answer or something they think I'd be interested in. Then it goes to my folder and I check my folder. That's how it works. So that's how I do that. You have to understand it has to do with only one thing. It's the fact that I have this much help now has been a miracle. Until then, I wasn't even getting this far through this stuff. It's just impossible. What you have to understand is my influx of, and I've said this over and over again, and I know I hate talking about this because it's me time talk, but it's important sometimes when you guys ask me questions like this. Getting a hold of me has to do with nothing to do with me. Has to do with my videos at the time. I just had a video that had 400,000 views, and then a video had 180,000 views in the same week, and then 2 videos that did 70,000 views. Those are big views for this channel, right? Whenever I break 100,000, it's a pretty big deal for this channel. And so you gotta understand, if I get videos that get 20,000 views on average, plus I have a back catalog of 900 videos that are all producing, millions of views a month combined, or million views a month, I should say. It creates a lot of questions, emails, so there's a lot. But whenever there's a spike in the videos views, we get a spike in emails and everything gets lost. So that's why, do that. I try to answer as much as I can, as often as I can. I will tell you this, I don't want you to sign up to Patreon just to get the email to me, but I do that's one of the features of Patreon is it's not so much that I need to collect money to be talked to. It's just, obviously that's a filter. You see how it works? I mean, there's not that many patrons compared to viewers. And so it's easier to filter what I'm seeing. And I check the patrons because I'm always behind on them too. So, a lot of patrons here watching will tell you sometimes it takes days, if not a week, for me to respond, but I do respond. Hi, Desert Hoodad says, hey, Phil, we have a local guitar show this weekend here in Albuquerque. Is it a good idea to sell a guitar there? Any advice on how to go about it? I'm not really versed in that. I don't know. I would imagine if you have a guitar to sell, I mean, that's where guitar players are going to be. I guess the question is, what does it charge? I mean, think about it this way. I can tell you from this, I mean, you can sell a guitar on, you can do it on Reverb, you can do it on eBay, you can do it on Craigslist, you can do it through now Sweetwater's, used thing. So there's a ton of places to sell your guitar online. So I guess the question is, if it's as price effective to go there and do it, I would say go do it. There's guitar players. If there's a charge there that's more than those, then I would just go those. The only advantage I would see is that you don't have to ship it if you go there. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, shipping is not the end of the world. You can just buy a box and stick it in the box. So that's my answer to that. That helps. Mr. S says, hey, went to Sam Ash in Hollywood and they couldn't have been nicer. Yeah, the Sam Ash guys are pretty cool. Like I said, I know Sammy Ash. I've talked to Richard and Ben Ash a couple of times. Sammy's always been good to the channel. As you know, he's been on the channel a couple of times back in the day. I would love to work with those guys more. They're just not very internet based. It's the one thing that it's where our business models don't align so much. I did a restring clinic there. It was huge. It did really, really well. We talked about doing some more, but the same thing. It's it's tough. I'm really on an internet platform, and I find the most value to you guys is to be on the internet platform and not so much on the personal platform. Um, and that's the problem with Sam Ash. They're more of a personal platform with their stores and not so much internet platform. I would love to recommend Sam Ash to purchase from. I tell you guys all the time, if you're going to a store, absolutely check out a Sam Ash. If you're going to use their website, there's no reason not to, other than it's not the best website. So that's one of the things. Like I don't want to suggest things, and then you get there and going, yeah, he only suggests this because he's friends with Sam Ash. That's exactly it, right? I'm just being honest with you. The website is not that great, and I wish they would spend more money on it. But as a store and as people, I like them, so I recommend them for that reason. But it's a lot easier, unfortunately, to say go to Sweetwater, because I know you're going to have a positive experience for the most part with Sweetwater online, and then that's where I send you online. But in store, yeah, definitely go to Sam Ash. Okay, or your local mom and pop. Don't forget them. Freedom Taco, nice name, says new guitar with Floyd Rose tremolo claw is pressing on the back plate. Yeah, that's because your two screws are sticking way too hot. Okay, affects tuning by when pressing claws. Fix for the claw that's too tall. That's not the claw is too tall, man. Your screws are at an angle. Here's what it is. When they drilled the two holes in there, they came at it like this instead of like this. Okay, for those listeners that listen to this later as a rebroadcast, I was pointing two fingers downward. Now I'm pointing them sideways. What you have to do is pull those two screws out and re-drill those holes so you can put those two screws in more horizontally and less vertically, or less at change the degree of the angle, right? Maybe right now it's for shooting out of my head, a 13-degree angle, right? Maybe it needs to go back down to 10-degree angle or 11-degree angle or something like that. So that's what it is. So it's not the claws too thick. You don't need to change the claw. You can, there's claws that are going to be smaller, but that's not the fix. The fix is fix those screws. When you look at it, what I just said, when you look at it, it should absolutely make sense what I just said to you when you look at your claw and go, oh yeah. Yeah. Do not do this. How most of the time when I have to repair this, what everybody does, they take a freaking hammer and they just hammer those two screws and then they bend them down like this. What you learn is then if you have to tighten them in or loosen them, they won't screw because they're all wobbly jawed. That's like a funny way to say that. And so that's what I would say to fix. The bad news is you might have to dowel those two holes and then re-drill them. Either way, you got to get that angle down changed. And that's what will fix that. In the meantime, don't play with your back plate on. Take your black plate off and then fix that and you'll be fine. Gilly says, hey, Phil, here stuck at work. Any styles you recommend? T-styles. Okay, hold on, let me read this whole thing. It says, or should I get used Nashville Telly? So I think T-styles, any Telly styles that I recommend, or should you get a Nashville Telly? And what pickups you recommend to swap? Wishing you good vibes and wishes. Do you like Tellys? Opinion on Tellys? I absolutely love Tellys. I actually have more Tellys than probably people think I do. And I don't know what it is. I absolutely love the Telecaster shape and body. It's just something that kind of appealed to me over time. And I love actually traditional Tellys. I have one of those, but I also like the humbucker Telly, like with my ASAT, my the ass hat G&L. But so I guess to your question, I like Tellys. Yes. What do I think of the Nashville Telly? Nashville Telly is the one that has it has a Telly pickup and then a Strat pickup and then a Telly pickup, right? So it's like Telly Strat. So it's 3 pickups. Interesting enough, I have one of those sets in one of the Somnium cartridges, and I really like it. It's a setup exactly like that. The Nashville Telly, it's cool. I like the idea of a versatile Telly. I think Tellys as a whole, just stripped down, are great. It's kind of like just a Gibson, like a Gibson SG, just no frills, just go for it. But I absolutely love Tellys when they have more to give, like more pickup options, stuff like that. So to answer your question, you absolutely love that. When your next part was, what pickups do you recommend to swap? I mean, it's so tough to answer those questions without knowing any of your background. Like, what are you looking for? What do you like? So I can't go there, but I can tell you I like the Nashville Tellys, if that helps. And I like Tellys, and we'll talk about Tellys more now. That's great. I like it when you guys ask questions like this. Like I said, sometimes it just feels like the question just happened on the show. It's not a big deal, but you'll realize like content gets created from these questions. Modern Vintage says, hey, last week you said PRS today is different than before. How so? I don't know what you mean by that. I'd have to remember what I said. Hold on. Does that include private stocks? Price aside, do you consider Music Man QC and craftsmanship to be on par with PRS Core and private stock? I actually think Music Man is not only on par with PRS, it might be slightly better, but it's definitely on par. So that's my opinion. Music Man to me is a company. I've said this before when I talk about import guitars. I always think of Schecter when I think of quality. Like if I'm recommending a guitar on quality, right? That's all anyone says. Like, hey, I want a good guitar at a price point, mid-range price point. I always think of Schecter. For some reason, I've held so many that were just fine. They were perfect that I was like, okay, I feel like you got a good shot that my recommendation will land. If somebody said, I want to buy a really nice American-made guitar and I want it like, it's perfect, Music Man is who comes to mind first. Paul Reed Smith comes to mind, not second, but I feel like Music Man is just a nudges ahead just a little bit more. Now that's quality. Again, like Schecter, we're not talking about style preference. Me, style preference, although I'm not a huge PRS player per se, because I'm more of a Strat guy, I prefer PRS style over Music Man style for the most part. And I know it sounds weird because I just said I'm a Strat guy and Music Man likes a lot of Strat style guitars, but you understand, right? Hopefully. So to that question, they're both equal on craftsmanship. But like I said, if I was going to give the nudge winner to one, I would say Music Man. On the first part, last week I said they're different than before. I don't know. I don't have context of what we were talking about. I know we talked about Paul Reed Smith work, being one of the owners that's been with the company the longest, but I don't have a reference of that statement. So I would have to know exactly what I said besides they're not the same as before. I could have been talking about their marketing. I could have been talking about it as a company. Probably what I'm thinking of when I'm trying to think about all the stuff I said last week, it was talking about how they probably focus more on SE now than they've ever done before. That's their focus more than before. That's what's different to me about PRS than before, is that they're really hyper-focused on SE. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm just pointing out what I see. Mr. S says, hey, post-1984 Eddie should have an asterisk by his name. Is that corny? Right? No, I actually makes total sense. Are there older Eddie Van Halens who like both eras, or is it just based on the age as you suggested? Let's see. Hold on. I want to read that one more time. Are there older Eddie fans? So in other words, like, I understand what you're saying. Like, is it simple as what I'm saying is that the age is based on that when they discovered Eddie is, yes. I'm sticking to that answer. Old fans like Dave era, younger, post Dave. Now we're talking different things. I don't want to confuse the Van Hagar to the Van Halen, the, Roth versus Hagar kind of argument, or Sharon even, right? I don't want to, that's a band era. That is a thing. Don't get me wrong. We can get into that thing all day long too. But we're just talking about Eddie and his guitar and which one of those guitars, because there's so many of them that, and I don't mean all the odd ones he did too. I'm talking about the core guitars, the iconic, the Bumblebee yellow and black, the white and black, the red, white and black. And then of course the Music Man, the Wolfgang, PV and the Wolfgang, the brand, EVH brand. Those are iconic guitars. And of course there's the Kramer. Don't get me wrong. There's the Kramer. I mean, in the Charvels, it gets too crazy, right? Too many things, but it is as simple as that. It seems like everybody seems to either like them all, which is common, or if you do like one, it happens to be the album that affected you the most. And that usually happens to be when you discovered Van Halen, right? Like I said, I didn't discover the first Van Halen album first, because that's not the way it hit me. And that's usually what I've seen, is that it hits people in different times, right? So, but I love it. And yes, I love the idea that there should be a post in, like a pre and post 84 Eddie Van Halen when it comes to the guitars. And again, we're not even talking about the band yet. We're just talking about the guitars and him and how we perceive him. Thank you, Patrick, for the super sticker. Mr. G says, for old school slash tone, do you prefer the Burstbucker half combo like the slash Les Paul or the Seymour Duncan slash pickups? I like the Burstbucker pickups. Now, this is where it gets a little strange. How can you say, like, how do I say, I mean, it's the pickups he's using are the Duncans, right? I don't know why. I just like the Burstbuckers and the 57 Classics. I don't think Slash's tone, I mean, pickups are huge for their tones and the guitar is huge for the tone, but Slash's tone, obviously, he's got a style that definitely sticks out. I kind of feel like Slash, to me, to capture Slash's tone, he kind of falls into the Santana realm for me, where if I was going to say quintessential things, right? Obviously a Marshall, right? A Gibson, Les Paul. Sure, you got a Les Paul into a Gibson, or a Les Paul into a Marshall. You're going to, play Slash. But to me, why I said Santana was Slash to me is like, it feels like everything, the tone control is cocked to quarterback. Just backed off a little bit. That's how everything feels. I don't know if he does that. What I can tell you is you have to think about this when you watch guitar players. Watch guitar players. One thing I love is just watching guitar players and how they approach things. Guitar players sound different where they hit the string. Some guitar players like to play over the neck pickup. Some play back by the bridge because they palm mute on the bridge. Some play in the middle of the guitar. Some play light. Some play heavy. You add those variables together. What I've learned is some players, like I will come I'm light when my pick hits, but I snap. I have a snap. And sometimes you can't mistake that. This, everything kind of pops out. I hit it real quick, light, but it hit fast. The pick hit quick. And even if I'm playing slow, it's like I'm snapping out the notes. And some players hit the string super soft. And in Slash, I don't know if he is turning the tone control a little bit back, but I can tell you his playing is. Like, and what I mean by that is, to me, it's the difference between listening to John Petrucci and Yngwie Malmsteen play those fast solos. John Petrucci, like alternate picks, like every note. There's my sounds, right? You get sounds tonight. And Yngwie is right. Diddle diddle do. No, it's there's no snap. Like the notes are just happening. It's smooth, right? And so Slash, to me, that's what's more important in those pickups, is that he has that soft sound on his lead playing. It just sounds great, where the notes don't really, even when he's aggressive, they don't snap out. They're just even killed. And you have to focus on that sometimes as much as the gear when you're trying to emulate a sound of a player. I don't do a whole lot of content on capturing a guitar player's sound. Like a ton of YouTube channels do that. Like how to buy this guy's good, sound on the cheap, or how to buy this sound. That's not something I really do in my videos. That's not something I focus on. I don't do a whole lot of how to capture somebody's sound. But that's why I'm mentioning that now, is because I don't do that. I need to really emphasize that is a huge part of capturing somebody's sound, is you have to have their style, their technique down before anything else. Otherwise, everything doesn't work. It just, and again, not all their technique, like their ability is important too. But whether Slash plays two notes or plays his, his actual, his tech, his playing, if you just play two notes, you should be able to sound like Slash if you're doing it the same approach. At least give you that sound. Like I said, you can hear it. He says, I'm supposed to turn the knobs? Yeah, I know. Joe Bonamassa has a great video about using your tone control. You should search that. It's one of my favorite videos on, it's one of those videos like, you used to hear rock stars always going, I wish I wrote that song. Very, very rarely do happens, but very rarely, but it happens to me when I watch a video and I go, man, I wish I would have made that video. It's a great video. He did a video like how to get all these tones out of Les Paul just using the tone controls and stuff. It was fantastic. Ray says, bought a, I'm assuming custom shop 62, 63 Strat after owning the Silver Sky. The Silver Sky wasn't a big jump from used. Custom shop. Wonder if others are experiencing this jump. I'm not sure what you mean in the price or in the way it plays. I had a Silver Sky as well, and I got rid of my Silver Sky for a Fender custom shop. I love the Silver Sky. In a lot of ways, it was better than the custom shop Strat, but I just felt like I wasn't getting what I needed out of it, so I switched. Mostly, it was like I said, it was the radius. I just didn't want the radius. My custom shop Strat right there has a 10-inch radius, and that's what I really like. So John's 7.5 was 7.25, 7.5. What is wrong with me? 9.5, 7.3, 7. Is it 7.25? I can't even remember now. I think we've been talking too long. It's just not really doing it for me. Mr. says, hey, modular, played a G-Rock modular guitars at NAMM. Amazing quality, but $5K. So the G-Rock is the one where it spins, right? The pickup spin. Look, cool, right? All those guitars are cool. I hope that's the guitar. Let me search it. And we're getting towards the end. I gotta button this up. G-Rock guitar. And yep, that's the one with the pickups that spin. Like what he's talking about is this. It looks, to me, it's like a slot machine. It's like just making sounds. There's all the YouTubers who played it. This is, like I said, you don't see this. I don't do a lot of this, so you know. It's if you ever see me on an ad or you ever see me on somebody's website, like Phil McKnight likes it, you let me know. I always try to get them to take that stuff down. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe these guys are like endorsed artists, but to me, you shouldn't be on somebody's website if you're not an endorsed artist. I don't endorse a lot of products, if any. So anyways, this guitar, how it works is, it has pickups and then they spin. Oh wow. Yeah. So, you know, that's funny. The guitar, to me personally, that guitar, the Relish guitar, all those guitars that, you know, do this swappable pickup thing, that's not what Somnium does. And like I said, Somnium's guitar is not that I can change the pickups. That may be valuable to you guys. Like I said, it's, again, I'm just talking about what's valuable to me. Maybe spinning a pickup or ejecting out some cartridge that you have and injecting a new cartridge, another pickup, that maybe has a value to you to have different sounds. To me, physically being able to try different pickups on the spot is liberating on tons of, and it, not only from a business point of view, just like, hey, I make pickups, so I want to, you know, listen to somebody's pickups or do something. Not only for content point of view, because obviously, like I said, the amount of work, the whole reason I even did this thing when Somnium contacted me about, you know, doing one of their guitars and having it on the channel was, you know, companies, it's not fair. Like Dylan Talks Tone, perfect example, right? To charge fairly. Okay. So if Dylan was like, hey, I want to get a set of pickups on your channel, to not to get them on the channel, but the time it would take me to get a guitar, solder them in, install them, test them, do all this stuff. And then heaven forbid, if I have to compare them to anything, compare video, the price is not really practical for a builder of pickups. So what happens is when you watch pickup reviews, you tend to watch only the big players. Like you see Seymour Duncan, you see DiMarzio, you see Fishman, you see EMG. It's not hard to figure out, by the way, in a minute, who's paying the most and doing the most. Fishman, of course, is paying the most out there. So they're getting their most out there. They pay the artists the most. This is just, hey, look, this is probably what you guys see too. This is what I see. I can see who's spending money on marketing. It's Fishman. Then after them, I think feels like Seymour Duncan. Maybe then it's Bare Knuckles after that. The point is, though, is that stuff can get really expensive. And so I was seeking out a way to basically not only try pickups, but try everyone's pickups for the sense of just like the deep dive reviews, giving you guys the opportunity to hear more than just this one thing that I go, it's great. If there's 50 things you can hear, it's going to be better. So that's my thought on that. And then we should be wrapping up right now. If I miss a comment, we'll hit it next week. This was ones and zeros. That's funny. Says problems at your end, Grumpy Digga, in Phil We Trust. Oh, okay. I don't know. He's probably talking to another channel. He says, Kevin says for the EVH fund. That's funny. The EVH fund. Yeah. All right. We did it. I feel like that was a lot of questions today. let's do this. I was going to give away a bunch of Snarks. I'm so over on the video. I can't. So I can't give a bunch of Snarks. There's just no way. Let's give away one right now. Maybe two real fast. How are we going to do it? It's going to be silly. You have to be in the US. We cannot ship these overseas. My wife tried. The problem is that it is a rechargeable tuner and the battery is inside. And to ship the economical way, the battery has to be removed. It can't be removed. It's built into the product. So I want to let you know. So first, Romero, RAMIROSILVA, Romero Silva. Please contact us at we can go to askknowyourgear@gmail.com, or you can go to the www.knowyourgear podcast link down below. You click that, let them know you want a Snark Air, and we will get you a Snark Air. By the way, this is important. Also, Drew, you just want a Snark. I feel like I'm just going to do like Oprah. Drew, you want a Snark. Please contact us at the website, and we will get this out to you. And one more. I saw two more. I'll try to do one more real fast because I already saw it and it jumped. Maybe I didn't. And remember, you got to be in the US. If you're not in the US, I'm sorry. Just like I said, we couldn't do it. We couldn't figure out a way to make it sounds. There is audio acrylics. Always out of tune, man. Not anymore. You contact us, please, at the Know Your Gear website. You got a Snark. I want to thank Steve and the guys at Snark for providing us Snarks. And I want to thank my wife for mailing all these Snarks. And I want to thank you guys for all the super chats that's paying for all the shipping. Okay, and the last one is, I don't know what this is, so I'm just going to do it. I don't know why. The magnetic fisherman, you just want to Snark because you put USA. I just want to put that I'm not doing that for like any other reason than it just seemed like the most obscure thing that caught my eye. I want to give him props. I don't know why. I just saw like Snark, USA, Snark. I was like, all right, screw it. All right, so 4 Snarks. We gave 4 Snarks away. Contact us at the website, and we'll make sure we get these out to you. Thank you guys so much. This, as always, it's a highlight of the week, and I will work on the live unboxing video of the Kiesel if it can work out that way. Otherwise, it'll go up as a video. Either way, please put a comment down below if you want it to be live. That way I know I'm going the right direction with that. As always, guys, I want to thank you so much for your time. Till next Friday, I guess, know your gear.